Privilege, white privilege.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, June 14th, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1251.
This is No Agenda.
Easing on down the road and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're all buying crap, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
What are you guys buying out there then, if you're buying crap?
Oh, it's just crap. Everyone's buying. You can't buy good stuff anymore. You buy crap.
What do you mean? You mean groceries?
All the toilet paper's from Mexico now.
Well, you know who took the good toilet paper?
No, who?
The Chinese. Hello, your mom warned you. Your mom warned you.
There's a reference. There's a...
the Chinese stole it all. Really, we have good toilet paper here. We have let's just call it the one I like.
Which is?
Charmin.
Oh, I still got those giant rolls of Charmin, so I'm still good to go.
Oh, okay. All right. But what's up with the Mexican stuff? Is it no good?
All I see, everyone's got toilet paper now, but it's all It's not the weird off-brands you normally see as off-brands. It's all Mexican toilet paper.
Are they really colorful packaging?
No, curiously not.
You would have thought. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by it.
Yeah. Well,
all hell's breaking loose.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean all hell's breaking loose? On the streets, you mean?
Well, not here.
Well, let me start with some interesting news, as we only questioned it a few weeks ago, and now within a week of this young woman from Missouri who said, "Hey, the definition of racism isn't correct. It doesn't make sense in the way we use it today," and they have changed their definition and published it. And I'm sure you are very excited to hear the new definition.
When you were doing that story, I forgot to mention that this particular process is not unusual. I say that because I had a definition changed.
Oh, do tell.
Yes, all the dictionaries said. I'd written this column to slam dunk my research, and the definition of nerd.
Oh, I remember this story. Yeah. This is a good one.
Was used to be, nobody knew where it came from, how this word even evolved. And it was, they would all say, well, maybe it's a shortening of ne'er-do-well, some crazy little...
That was in the dictionary?
Yeah, ne'er-do-well. It was just stupid.
Nerd-do-all? Oh, jeez.
Well, ne'er-do-well.
Ne'er-do-well.
You know, the guy's a ne'er-do-well.
Uh-huh.
The guy who doesn't do anything is a ne'er-do-well. It's a phrase that somebody in the chat room might know it exactly. I've
I know the ne'er-do-well. I know the phrase, yeah, but somehow
they said that maybe it's a contraction. It's a contraction of that. That was the dictionary definition of nerd.
Wow.
Or the etymology that was in the dictionary. So I tracked the word back to If I Ran the Zoo, in a 1950 book by Theodore Geis, otherwise known as Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
And I could find...
Interestingly, someone in the troll room just mentioned that before you even said it.
And I documented that there was no use of this word before he drew a little guy, a little nerd. It looks like a nerd, a little nerdy-looking guy called the nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, the word started becoming commonplace, and it developed after 1950. So Theodore Geis obviously invented the word. I called him up and talked to him about this, and he didn't realize this.
Wait, you called Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, I think he was in New York at the time.
And that's kind of cool. Did he talk like a normal human being, or did he talk in those weird rhymes? Well, hello, Dvorak, I say I do. It is you, the pile I poop anew.
No, just a guy like you.
Just a guy. Oh, like me.
All
right.
He was unaware, and so I wrote this. I wrote a very elaborate column on this, and how the word stems from this 1950 usage, because it's the only place that he invented the word, and that's where it came from. All the dictionaries very slowly.
Oh, okay, but it was slow. But it wasn't within a week of you calling him out.
It was pretty quick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was faster than you'd think, and so I was kind of happy about that.
Well.
By the way, wait, there's one kicker to the story. So some years later, at Universal Studios down in Orlando, they put up a If I Ran the Zoo
exhibit.
Little exhibit with all these different characters in there. And guess what character wasn't there?
The nerd, I'm sure.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, I wish I had such a cool story to tell about the word racism, but obviously it's a lot less significant. It didn't take all this work. It just took one girl and a cell phone with email, and she got it changed. Now,
yeah, well, that was pretty radical. Well, the definition I think was lacking.
Well,
by today's standards. Definitions change over time. It irks me but it does happen.
Well, let's see if we agree with the definition. Now, what they did not do is change the number one definition, which to me is kind of a chicken shit move. If you take, doesn't everyone just look at the first definition and then say, well, it could also mean that, but blah-de-blah, we kind of let it slide. It doesn't feel like it's a real change to me, personally.
Okay.
So still the same is racism definition. A belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. And as far as I know, that has been the definition for a long time. Number two is what has changed. We have an A and a B. They couldn't decide. So 2A, doctrine or political program based on the assumption of racism and designed to execute its principles. So I think that just means, couldn't they just put A, Republicans?
Principles?
Couldn't they just
what principles?
Why don't they just say Republicans? 2A, Republicans. Done. Listen to it. Doctrine or political program based on the assumption, which is a tough word to use, but okay, assumption of racism, and designed to execute its principles, which would mean there'd be a political program that assumes people of color are lesser, and therefore you could actually put Democrat Party then, I guess, if you think about it. But okay, let's look at 2B. I found this one to be more interesting. The definition of racism can also be a political or social system founded on racism. This is a mind-boggler, because that is something I've heard.
Isn't that circumlocution? They just say it's referring back to itself?
Yes.
Isn't that like a violation of some logic?
It's what do you call it? Programmers love it when it circles back.
Iteration.
No, it's not iteration. It's a different word. It's like when you hold a mirror up against another mirror. No, recursion. Recursion. There we go. I got it. Recursion. I knew I'd hit it eventually with help from the trolls. It kind of is. So it's a political or social system founded on racism is racism.
Racism is racism.
How can you use the word racism in a definition of the word racism? I don't understand how that works.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I have no idea. I have one more little insight about dictionary and their changes.
I mean, who cares about the change of racism? Let's hear about the dictionary process. Go.
Yeah. All dictionaries are copyrighted.
Huh.
And you cannot produce a definition in your dictionary. So all the definitions...
So I can't publish a dictionary and use to be a political or social system founded on racism?
Not unless you have the documentation to prove your definition. All definitions have to have documentation. I know it sounds crazy.
This is it's actually interesting. You don't think about these things, how it comes together. Huh.
So you can't, like one dictionary just can't, let's just make a dictionary, put our Adam Curry dictionary and then steal from everybody else. You can't do it. You have to have proof of your definition. Your definition.
Wow.
And the real problem, of course, is the Oxford English Dictionary, which is the big boy, and that's the one I would look at the definition of racism from. Let's do that.
While we're doing this, I would like to let you know that the noagendaglossary.com is on the air and available and updatable. So you can make an account, sign in, and you can update the No Agenda Glossary. which is not quite like a dictionary. Yes.
This is a good idea. I was trying for about, last 4 years to do a FAQ.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll just put it in the glossary.
Let me see what we have today. What new of their new serving up 41 definitions for all your definitioning needs. A work in progress. This is great. Wait, recent additions. Oh, this is cool. Chip Todd, Brolf, and Anderson Pooper. Chip Todd. Let's see what what we get under Chip Todd. Chip Todd, the show nickname for Chuck Todd of Meet the Press. Oh, this is cool. There are already people contributing. This is very nice. Huh. Anyway, so, hey, take that, Webster, or Merriam-Webster. We'll do it ourselves. We don't care. Care about you. Update on the email situation that I went through with the email flood. And we'll just do a couple quick updates, and we have some real stuff to talk about. It should
be over by now.
Oh, and, well, of course, now I'm subscribed to a lot of stuff, so there's that to deal with. Getting
some good information.
I put it all, I filter it all out, and I take a look and see what's there. Pretty much all of it's crap, and also because of all the email list subscriptions, now I'm on different spam lists. But that we've been working on that. That's Bayesian logic does pretty well. But one of our producers sent me a note. He says, "Hey, I deal with financial fraud at work. And you are correct about the most common reason these methods are used, the email flood of being subscribed to news lists, which is typically, and it may have happened, although I haven't noticed anything. I only have, 2 accounts. It's not that hard. Typically, it's they steal a password, and then they want to make sure that when they reset the password or they have access somehow, that you don't see that email and the flood just goes by. And our producer goes on to say, I have had access to the one that does the volume you experienced. It is hosted by a Russian group and is for rent. It's called Flood CRM, floodcrm.net. And he even gave me an invite code. It's fantastic. If you want to send 15,000 emails to someone, because you do it by level, but you can also do phone call floods, SMS floods. This is an evil, evil tool. Cost you about $10 for 15,000.
And now you have it.
Yes, $10 for 15,000 emails. So the volume I received, someone paid several $100s for that, to go through that. So I hope it was worth it. Did I count? Yeah.
No, did you do a count? Yeah.
Yeah. That's about 100,000 in the first, 48.
Oh, yeah, that's $100
hours.
At least.
Yeah. So
unless it was the Russians themselves.
Yeah, who knows? And
it cost me anything.
Oh, yes. As is usual, whenever someone has grievance on this show, it always gets sent to me. And as is usual, when someone has grievance with you on this show, everyone sends the email to me. I forwarded a few of these. There's some confusion about your Congo numbers.
Oh, yeah.
People
my
are
Congo numbers off.
Desperate to understand. Yeah.
Just because, I got those emails too.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
Yes, I used the Republic of Congo numbers instead of the Democratic Republic of Congo numbers, and I was off by a factor of 5.
5.
So so the numbers of people that were alive in 1955 was actually 15 million, not 5.
Okay.
That was a factor of 3 and 55, but it's a bigger factor now. Like, for some reason, Democratic Republic of Congo went population crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't prove my point. The whole point is ruined.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I thought it would be. That's too bad.
But I think I can still go back and do enough research. I cannot believe that anyone could kill, in a population of a country of 20 million, that you can kill half of the people of the country and get away with it without them killing you. It just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, those Belgians, man, they're slippery. King Leopold.
They can't even keep... Right now, they're being pushed around by the social justice warriors.
Do they even have a government yet? Remember when they went for 3 years without a government, I think? Just like, we can't decide who it's going to be, so we're fine. The country just kept on chugging along. Whatever, we're all good. No problem. Let's see. There's a lot, I got a couple of interesting little mini sequences, but I'd like to start off in the UK, where they're kind of going through what the U.S. went through now with the fear and the numbers, and they want to open back up, and Boris Johnson is being blamed for doing it all wrong.
Of course. They hate him.
Obviously.
It's his hair.
The UK health minister, though, was providing some interesting statistics. And it's always in the wording that is interesting. So they got pretty high death numbers. Let's listen to, especially, I think it's like 48,000 dead. Some astronomical, it's a big number for 60 million people. But of course, that's the national health system. So, I mean, everyone I'm sure was treated just perfectly.
It's the best.
Yes. But, the question we now have everywhere is, did these people really die from COVID-19? Did they just have the virus and they had some other comorbidity? Well, they've come up with a way in the UK to describe that.
The fifth slide shows the daily figures for those who've sadly lost their lives after testing positive for coronavirus. Across all settings.
I don't know, man. That doesn't say that you died as a result from coronavirus. He said something very different. They died after having tested positive. It's not the same thing.
Who've sadly lost their lives.
Testing positive of something, you can test positive for herpes. It doesn't mean it killed you.
Who've sadly lost their lives after testing positive for coronavirus.
It's so slippery, man. You got to be careful because I'm sure that's true, but that doesn't mean that all those people died of a result from that. But I don't know. We don't know. In fact,
yeah, you do.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're pulling the emergency brake. They're signaling already.
By updating you on the latest information from the government's COBRA file. On the first slide here, we can see the latest information on infections. Results from the ONS Infection Survey, published this morning, estimate that the number of people who tested positive for coronavirus in England fell from 152,000 between the 27th of April and the 10th of May to 33,000 between the 25th of May and the 7th of June.
And it's just approximate numbers, mind you. They could have chosen 32. They could have amped it up, done 34. If it's approximate, who gives a crap anyway? You're there to scare people. No, let's make sure we let everybody know it's a 33. Abort mission. Abort mission. Crazy.
Well, I'm not a subscriber to the 33 meaning abort mission, by the way.
Okay. No. I have no proof that that's what it is. It was at one point used as abort mission. I think now it's just signaling for all kinds of stuff.
That's, yeah. All kinds of stuff is the problem. What is that?
All kinds of stuff.
More specific.
Yeah. I wish I had an answer. So, did you see the undercover nurse?
No.
Oh, crap.
This is a newer one because there was, this is a new recording.
Yes, this is a new recording. It was a chapter 9, I guess. And here, and to preface it all, let me kind of say what I think is going on here. This nurse or her friend, or if you'll recall, there was a video several weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago.
It was a while back.
Yeah, and it was an Instagram, a short shot in portrait mode. And
yes,
she was saying,
I actually downloaded that video.
Yeah, and she's saying they're killing people.
I'm downloading these videos, by the way.
Thank you. Very good. And you should, while you're at it, upload them to BitChute or something, just to offload them. Someone else to store it somewhere. So, and it was so outrageous, her claims. And the problem, if I recall, and it's very superficial of me, but I looked at her and went like, this is some cute Instagram girl who has a friend and she said something. She's really upset. And I really just went click. I don't care. Whatevs. Yeah, I know. It's but that's why there's two of us. You downloaded it. I dismissed it. Now, what I think happened, there's this nurse who she's an ex-military, I think Army. She was in Iraq in 2003.
Oh, yes, that one. There's different ones.
Yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. And she was... she retired from the...
Yeah, she's really irked this one.
Well, she retired from the military, and she's working at where she lives at a hospital in Florida, and on some kind of exchange program. There's a lot, traveling nurses, very common. She went to Elmhurst in New York, which was the epicenter of the epicenter. That was the hospital where we had the body bags and we had the refrigeration trucks and all the horrible things. That was the epicenter.
The epicenter of the epicenter.
And she clearly saw what she believed was things that were very, very wrong. And she then must have either contacted or somehow she got in contact with some guy, some producer, some production group who has taken her story and made it a bit confusing because it's professional. You see her videos, the interviews. She's got makeup. It's not, by the way, it's not great makeup, but it is television makeup. She's, her eyes, everything is all done. She's wearing the hat, I think, for some kind of, makes her a little bit less recognizable. Her hair probably looks very different. It's long. She can do all kinds of stuff with it. You wouldn't see her. You wouldn't recognize her immediately. But otherwise, it's her, and she's stating her name, and she's saying this is what she saw. And when the guy asks questions throughout, and this is about an hour. If you haven't seen it, it's in the show notes, of course, nashownotes.com. He sounds almost like the Veritas guy. You know what I mean? Which it pisses me off. He's like, can you really believe it? And it's not, it's like, doesn't feel good. There's a lot of things about this that don't feel good. There's a book coming out. So that always feels weird. On the other hand, I like that someone has taken the story from the beginning and decided to professionalize it to get the message out. Because this video, I believe Tucker Carlson showed a bit of it, maybe Friday or Thursday, a little snippet. But that was about it. It had just come out. But you can needle drop in this video. I'm not kidding. Needle drop anywhere you want. For those of you who are too young to remember, we used to have vinyl records. You had a needle.
What? I drop a needle and then it's stuck in the floor.
Drop the needle on the record and the drum beat goes like this. So you can drop it in almost anywhere and get any number of stories that we have heard about, have discussed throughout the entire pandemic and lockdown. We've talked about the do not resuscitate orders. Oh, no, that was a hoax. Turned out to be not. Oh, it's not true. We talked about the ventilators, people being killed on the ventilators with overpressurization. All of this is in here. Every single piece.
That's why I don't watch these things. It's like reiterating our show for the past 2 months.
Well, what's good about this is she also recorded video and audio. They gave her glasses with a camera, and she was mic'd up.
Nice.
So it's not Veritas quality. It's actually audible without the subtitles. Yes, say it again, Dvorak. That's nice. They're looking at screen. They blur some stuff out, but they're showing the actual proof of what you would think would be, I'm a layman, but medical malpractice. And doing things more for a profit motive than anything else. So I'm taking 4 random clips.
It's needle drop.
It's totally, I really needle drop this. And we'll start with the issue that, of course, if you got to watch the whole thing to get all the context. But one of her claims is that people were coming in who thought they might have coronavirus. And she said, it's not in this clip, but she said, well, most of these people had anxiety. They had trouble breathing because they were afraid. The anxiety kicks in. They start hyperventilating. So she wasn't. So, but instead of using the rapid test, which could get someone in and out in 45 minutes, they would do different tests and put people in the ward with the presumed positive coronavirus people. You feel me, Smalls? So you walk in saying, I don't know, man.
Nice.
Well, anyway, she'll tell you herself here.
You don't seem to have it, but sit here next to this guy who does, and you will.
There you go.
We have, in the United States, and we've had it for a while, a rapid test. It's 45 minutes. Do you have COVID, don't you? They're not doing the rapid test here.
They're not?
No.
Okay. At Elmhurst, you've never seen them?
Nope, they don't do it. It's too expensive. They do 5-day. It's like 5 to 7 day turnaround. In the meantime, they admit them onto COVID units. So non-COVIDs, the rule-outs are going to COVID units and waiting for the results. Even though we have a rapid result, which is 45 minutes, and they're not doing it. No. Not one.
But would you say it's too expensive? Isn't this all getting charged to the fund anyway? why not do it? Why not? Are you saying that?
I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me. I asked that doctor about it.
How come you guys don't do the rapid test here?
City place. It exists. It's just they don't have access to it. There's only limited supply, so if you have deep pockets, you get first.
Oh, So money.
Most times it's money about everything, yes.
That's sad.
It's the reality.
Hold on a second. Wait. So instead of spending the extra money for the rapid test and getting the person out of there, they admit them, which actually costs more money?
Gee, I wonder why they're doing it with the probability that
they'll get COVID and they get even more money.
After 4 to 5 days, they'll get it. Yes. Yes.
Of course, on this show, we have pointed out over and over, when you compare the numbers around the country, New Jersey and New York have the most cases, and they're the two scammiest states in the nation.
Now, this is a public hospital, and so she was continuously drawing the comparison between the private hospital she works at in Florida. She said, we didn't have a single person die. Most people who were sick were out of there in 6 to 8 hours. And of course, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin D, vitamin C. But, none of the expensive stuff. No ventilators, no. I mean, at a certain point, she's talking about when someone gets put on a ventilator, what kind of drugs they put in your IV. Oh, my God.
Well, they have to paralyze you.
But you will never get out of it. It's literally, fentanyl is just the first. Fentanyl. And then it's just all the SAMs and the PAMs, diazepam, all of that shit is in there. And,
yeah, it's the worst.
And she said, actually, the one guy who survived on her ward, the one guy, young guy, because he was a pretty heavy drug user, the drugs didn't have that effect on him. He extubated himself. He pulled the tube of the ventilator out of himself, and he walked out that day. He's like, I don't want to be here. He pulled it out. Ugh. Anyway, she has another comparison with this Elmhurst hospital, and she compares it to a place in her military service.
I compare this hospital to a third world country. I've been in a third world country hospital in Iraq. The Iraq hospital is better than this one, and that says a lot. I've been there. I've been in both hospitals, and this is in the United States, and this hospital is treating low income, mostly people, and it almost makes me feel like they think these people are disposable, and they're not. They're people.
And having listened to the whole hour, and you hear a lot of how doctors respond, there is an arrogance within the medical community, which I believe is in some ways comparable to that in the law enforcement community. When you're dealing with people who are violent and nasty and messy, and it's always a problem, and they hate you, eventually you build up a resistance like, well, they're just them. And I think in the medical field, it's like, well, can't help it. It's just another person. Screw it. We're on. But there's this, throughout the whole video, there's this orders from them, from above, the higher ups, and no one can answer exactly who they are or what they want or why they're making these certain decisions. And this is this is one of her conclusions, which we've already made.
Now, I mean, that's quite,
yeah. So her statement was, it looks like they wanted to get people sick for the money, perhaps.
It's quite a charge. I mean, what makes you think they really want them to get COVID? Because
money. I think it's at least $29,000 per patient, and then you have to think you are also charging supplies and more supplies and more supplies. That's just like a bonus money.
But the residents aren't getting that, right? I mean, why?
Oh, that's the thing. And I actually I've went at it with a lot of residents already, and they're order followers.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
I'm a rule follower, so if the rule is that we have to do it, then I'll do it.
And I believe this. I believe the medical profession has just put a bunch of textbook rule followers into place.
Yeah.
Who knows if they even learn about the human body anymore? It's all about treatment. Keep them in, move them up, get them in, get them on the vent.
And then you got to fill out the forms and check the boxes to get the money.
So the last clip I have, a little longer, but is about the do not resuscitate. And what happened in this particular clip is someone from higher up said that patient is do not resuscitate, DNR. And in the computer system, the nursing station did not say DNR. So that would mean the patient would be at full code. So if someone goes into cardiac arrest or is dying, then it's full code and there's things we do. CPR, just shock, whatever it is, whatever the situation. DNR, do not resuscitate, means let the person die. So there's in the system, there's no change. The doctor's saying, no, he's DNR. And there's even a question if the patient's family is aware that there's a do not resuscitate, which there really isn't, but it came from somewhere up high. So it's very confusing, and this contains actual audio of her talking to a doctor about it and then to the other nurses.
Why are we being told not to code him, essentially? That's what he said. I mean, because I'm going to tell you right now, if he bottoms out, I'm jumping on his chest. Period. Point blank. It's going to happen. Because until that status is changed in the computer, that's what I'm obligated to do under my nursing license.
Right. I mean,
because you guys aren't going to back me up and protect me.
Well, Elmhurst does have a policy given, like a COVID policy, given the scarcity of dialysis and blood.
It can be a chem code, it can be whatever.
It's a difference. Normally the standard is whatever the family says, like we just do. So if they would say code him for 5 years, like we just do that until they die. It's a little bit different now because of the new policy in place with Dr.
There's the doctors' names are being beeped out.
Put in place, which is that you don't need full family. You can just tell someone that it's medically futile and that we're not willing to just pour blood and resources into something that's...
This shocked me. Sure, the guy's 80 years old, but this is exactly the death panel we have heard about.
Yeah, this is your death panel right there. A
decision was made.
Sarah Palin's death panel that she was ridiculed for.
A decision was made right there. It came from the higher-ups. We are not going to spend any blood or oxygen, electricity, or even light particles on this waste of human flesh. And we don't need to get permission from the family. We're just going to tell them. I think someone called them, I don't know. Holy crap. This is our medical, and it doesn't sound like they were in the throes of running out of blood or electricity or oxygen. Ventilators never really seemed to be a problem. There were 30,000 on order, and you don't want to you want to cut someone off? It continues.
Would be impossible to get back. Right. But look, it's brutal. He's 37. I mean, it's brutal.
Well, they tried. Well, our higher-ups have agreed.
This guy was 37. I'm sorry. He wasn't 80. He was 37. Holy crap. Sorry, you waste of human flesh.
And our attendings agree that this is futile care at this point. He is not going to make it. I said, he doesn't have an epi drip going. He doesn't have anything to sustain going. And I said, and who decided this? And I said, can you put a comfort care order in then? No, we can't do that. Can you put a DNR order in? No, we can't do that. I said, so what's our plan? Do we have to modify? She goes, well, he's dying. And I'm like, I understand that, but there needs to be an order indicating that either I'm doing compressions or I'm not doing compressions.
Well, I can say that we can all be in agreement that we will do it. I will definitely.
Because I'm going to jump on him.
Yeah. So will I. I'll go right with you. I don't care. That's what we're here for. I'm not playing like these
until they change his status that he is a DNR, and they can do it to physician consent if they've talked to the family. Yeah. But until they change it, and I see it, he's a full coach.
It's you watch the whole thing and your mouth falls open.
Well, the nurses seem to at least have their act together.
Have we not always said on this show that nurses need to be respected because they're the ones that actually keep you alive in the hospital? This is your example. And, I mean, listen to them. Hey, I'm jumping on the guy if he codes. Thank you. It's nice to know someone cares.
You know, this looks like a lawsuit that will be a beauty. This is just massive, this is like talking about systematic.
Thank you.
This is systematic malpractice.
Yep. And fraud, I would say. Fraud.
The U.S. government's going to have to go after these hospitals, and Elmhurst looks like a good target. This is the same hospital that, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the many hospitals that was played up on the nightly news in New York City and across the country. And then the next day, people went with their cameras and saw that was nothing going on.
I believe so. Yeah.
Which was taken down from YouTube, of course.
Why not? Well, it was actually President Dwight Eisenhower. He warned us, as he's warned us with other things.
From the President's office in the White House in Washington, D.C., we present an address by the President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
In holding scientific research and discovery in respect, as we should, we must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite.
Scientific, technological elite. I think we're there. I think we didn't listen. I don't think
never listened to Eisenhower.
Well, damn it! Didn't he do the military-industrial complex bit as well?
Yeah, we didn't listen to that either. It's worse than ever. He could not even imagine what it's like.
Ike would be rolling over in his grave. He probably is, actually. It's so I implore all of you. I'm telling you. You gots to go watch that video. There's 8 other episodes. That I don't know what else is in there. I don't care. This is the one. Now, she's also cute, which makes it, I think, actually less credible. But she did have a lot of TV makeup on, so she may look a little more. She just didn't look like a worn nurse. I hate to say it, but optics are everything.
Worn out nurse.
But the question is, will this get any legs? I mean, the book. I don't know what's going to happen with this video. I'm sure it's getting kicked off YouTube if it hasn't already.
You already answered the question by even doubting it might get no legs. They're going to cancel it. They can't let this thing go out there.
I'm going to
Tucker Carlson took a few clips. That's the end of it.
He didn't even take a few. Just took like 30 seconds, almost nothing.
So we've already done more on this show.
Oh yeah.
Than the M5M is going to do on this material because they're all in.
This is stuff you really have to see, and it will make you think about, I mean, seriously, there is now talk that perhaps half the infections in the hospital came in where people got that in the hospital. They walked in healthy. Some never walked out. They were immediately, it's like, oh, you're probably COVID. Okay, stay in this ward for 4 or 5 days. If you don't have it by then, and you're not with your family, you're stressed out. It's a horrible place to be. And, then they're like, well, we should sedate you a little bit. And then, anything that's wrong with you can kick in. It's a crazy, crazy sequence. I told Tina, I said, just put me in the backyard in a tent. Don't take me to the hospital, please. Bring in Dr. Ron, the voodoo doctor. Have him shake some sticks and stuff.
You don't have to go in. I mean, people are, they're going into the hospital when if they stayed home, they'd be better off.
But if you go there, they say, okay, well, we really have to admit you. We really feel you should be here for X, Y, and Z reason. It's very, very.
Just say no.
The COVID motel. Patients check in, but they never check out.
COVID motel. Oh, that's a good title.
I'd like to move through kind of this into vaccines and into Black Lives Matter. There's a lot to talk about. Fauci is back out doing the rounds, although he's not doing any big, as far as I know, any big announcements or briefings, but he's being interviewed. And on NPR, it was Science Friday. Surely you know the Science Friday. We like the Science.
Oh yeah, Science Fridays. They do that on Friday.
Yes, I hear they do it on Friday. And Ira is the host, not Ira Glass, a different Ira. And before we even start, we really need to take a step back and let everybody know that yes, even the scientific community is a racist bag of dicks.
Why are we seeing record-breaking spikes in the numbers of cases and hospitalization?
That was my intro was for this clip. Sorry.
This is Science Friday. I'm Ira Flato. I want to talk about something for a few minutes before we get started today. Here at Team Sci-Fi, we support the protests demanding racial justice because Black Lives Matter. We know in the long history of Science Friday, we haven't included diverse voices as much as we should have. As a media platform with a large audience, we recognize our equally large responsibility to act in service of social good. We're sorry, and we know we can do better. A few years ago, we made it a mission to seek out the voices of black and minority scientists to show you, our listeners, a wider range of perspectives that a lot of times is missing from science news. We made talking about racial disparity research a focus for our radio and digital reporting. We aired stories about how black communities have unequal access to health care, how climate change harms the communities disproportionately, and the unfair and racist hiring practices in academia.
It's not enough!
But we fell short and need to do more. So we're doubling down on elevating and amplifying black voices and experiences in science. It's our duty as journalists to represent black perspectives in science. And I know you would expect nothing less from us.
Yeah, why don't we start by making the host someone other than Ira? Okay? That would be a good
let's
start.
get a black journalist, Ira.
Ira. But this is the Shutdown STEM initiative that is now shaming scientists. Because, of course, we need to have scientific evidence of systemic racism. I am hearing this used. There's scientific evidence of systemic racism. I'd like
really?
to... apparently...
So you can do a double-blind study on this?
I guess so. Nature magazine. Systemic racism. Science must listen, learn, and change. Nature commits to working to end anti-black practices in research. And then we have... what is this? This is... Shutdown. That's just, this is a Shutdown STEM initiative. And this happened last week. You didn't notice it because we're not STEM. Here, science has a racism problem. Did you know that? Guess you didn't, huh? This is from...
Apparently I didn't. I do remember last week's STEM
STEM shutdown. Here it is.
We have not jumped into this, but if you're deciding to jump into it, I'll follow.
Science has a racism problem, and this is the editors of Science Journal committed to publishing and disseminating exciting work across biological sciences. 13 of us are scientists. None of us is black. Underrepresentation of black scientists goes beyond our team. Whew! So look to the history of human genetics and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So everyone's under pressure. Everybody's got the noodle gun pointed at them. And we're going to circle around back to that after we listen to a few moments of Science Friday with Ira and the Fauchmeister as we listen to...
two white guys
talking STEM, and the numbers, I think it's a mistake for us to only wash the feet of Black Lives Matter protesters. We should be washing Fauci's feet. He has saved or created millions of lives. Millions. It worked.
Why are we seeing record-breaking spikes in the numbers of cases and
surge
hospitalizations in recently opened states like Texas, Arizona, Utah, North Carolina, and Florida?
Because they're dickbag Republican states.
Well, it's not unexpected, Ira, and the reason is that this virus was so easily transmissible that the best way that we did, and we successfully did it, we mitigated it by essentially shutting down.
Just notice what he said. We successfully did it. This arrogant prick, listen to him.
That the best way that we did, and we successfully did it.
We did it! America.
Mitigated it by essentially shutting down the country, going into lockdown. It wasn't just us. The rest of the world did the same thing. And, there's a recent paper that came out just yesterday or the day before.
Here we go.
Showing that closing down of society globally has saved hundreds of millions of infections and at least a few million deaths. So we know that mitigation works.
Okay. This is bullshit. That is not science. You can't say without having not done it, since everyone did the same thing, according to Fauci, you cannot say it worked because we did that. I don't believe that's the actual scientific process. Am I correct, sir?
You are correct, sir.
Thank you.
When you pull back and try to re-enter a degree of normality, you can expect that there will be blips of infection. Whether those infections become real rebounds is going to depend on how effectively you address it by identification, isolation, and contact tracing.
Okay, great. Anyway, thank you for saving millions of lives. Thank you. Thank you. Even though you can't prove that you did, but all right, there's a paper somewhere that said that, so the paper must be right. This is NPR. As you know, it's commercial free. Time to add in a sponsor.
There have been some recent reports that remdesivir may have a positive effect against the virus.
Brother.
Is it possible that we might have a treatment, like in AIDS, we might have a treatment before we have a vaccine?
Ira, I would not be surprised if what you said is absolutely correct. Well, remdesivir was a drug that was put into a placebo-controlled randomized trial.
Ooh, sounds funky.
In hospitalized patients with COVID-19 who have lung disease.
Who are on the brink of death.
It was a statistically significant but modest positive effect.
Statistically significant but modest positive. Sounds like it was crap.
Of about 32% diminution in the amount of time it takes to recover.
Diminution. Oh, well, man, if you're diminuing,
that was the test that was time to recover. It wasn't survival.
Yes, people who didn't died less quick, or didn't die less quick, or
no, they didn't die
quicker.
But they didn't die.
They didn't die quicker. Right. Thanks, remdesivir.
That's the first.
They got kicked out of the hospital a couple of days before the other guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Step towards developing better drugs and drugs in combination.
Yes, in combination. Well, we all know what it is. It's just keep them going. Let's keep the vaccine dangling out there, everybody. Are we going to get it? We're going to get a vaccine. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. How do we do it? What's going to go?
Let's turn now towards the search for a vaccine.
How can anyone listen? When you do a science program, do you have to be a boring guy like that, like Ira? I agree with you. Let's bring in some black voices. Ira's boring. Boring.
Yeah.
We need a
get rid
boycott.
Of Ira and put in a black journalist.
That's right. Black journalist for Science Friday. Ira, you're boring.
Let's turn now towards the search for a vaccine. When we can expect a vaccine, and has your view changed on this?
I don't even know what that question means. Has your view changed on this? What, a vaccine?
No, my view hasn't changed, so let me just reiterate it again. We're going to go into an advanced phase 3 trial in the beginning of the summer with more than one candidate.
Yeah. Me, Bill, Gavi. That's the Vaccine Alliance that he's a part of. CDC. I read on Wikipedia, so I don't know if it's true. There's one person responsible for greenlighting vaccines inside the NIH. And I should actually pull that article up. And it has a very particular title. Let me just see if I can find this real quick. Because I actually had it in the show notes. Here we go.
Is that one person actually just a rubber stamp with the word yes on it?
I believe so. It is, let's see, the Department of Bioethics at the National Institute of Health of the Health Clinical Center, which makes decisions and gives green lights on vaccines. The green light is what I call it. The person currently in charge is Christine Grady. According to the Wikipedia, she's married to Fauci.
What?
Yeah. There's a couple articles. It's on Wikipedia. So, I mean, this claim of it, you look it up on Wikipedia on this Christine Grady's page, and it says she's Anthony Fauci's wife. And she serves as the chief in charge of bioethics. In other words, the person who gets to make decisions on exceptions to FDA rules when it comes to things like drugs and vaccines. They're all, of course, accepted. Not all drugs, but vaccines are, of course, indemnified, along with other exceptions to the normally alleged transparent process that is supposed to take place before drugs and other things get into American marketplace.
You got to get rid of this indemnification thing.
Yeah, but then we'll never have vaccines. And we'll never have vaccines. And Grady is married to...
We have all the good vaccines already.
Grady is married to Anthony Fauci, and they have 3 daughters together. It's right there in her Wikipedia. So I guess she's in charge of, or at least has a role in approving these things, and she doesn't even have the Fauci name.
Yeah, that's a good trick. Yeah, I can... You know where the scandal is?
Which one?
Well, the one that I think would be the good one to come up with.
Mm-hmm.
What vaccinations have the daughters had? Did they get HPV? Did they get all these 800 vaccines you need by the time you're 3? I'd like to know.
That's like Steve Jobs not letting his kids use an iPad, which is true.
It is true.
That's just evil, man. No, kids. Here's an abacus. Shut up. Here's some paper. Draw Daddy a picture. All right, back to Science Friday. Fauci Friday on NPR.
My view hasn't changed, so let me just reiterate it again. We're going to go into an advanced phase 3 trial in the beginning of the summer with more than one candidate. And it's going to be a very large trial involving tens of thousands of individuals. And we hope that by the time we get into the mid to late fall, if things work out okay and we don't get into any unanticipated speed bumps, that by the end of this calendar year and the beginning of 2021, that we will have a vaccine, or maybe more than one vaccine, that we will be able to deploy and utilize to protect people.
Yeah.
Are you worried that we will see hesitancy from people about getting the vaccine, driven by misinformation?
It's like he sounds like Kermit the Frog there.
I can't.
Fonzie, were you right? I don't know. You think it would be a good thing?
Proliferating already?
Yeah, that's always a worry that I have, Ira.
Yes, but we have ways of making you do what you want.
Proliferating already?
Yeah, that's always a worry that I have, Ira. It dates back to the vaccine hesitancy around measles that we saw resulted in the unfortunate rebound and resurgence of measles in a country that had essentially eliminated measles. I'm always concerned about the general anti-science attitude and particularly the anti-vaccine attitude. So what we have to do is we have to intensify what we call community outreach. To be very transparent.
It's called propaganda, Fauci. You can call it community outreach, but I understand what you're saying.
He's not talking about the propaganda part.
He's just talking about jabbing it in. It's like, here we go. We're reaching out to your forearm, to your upper arm. That's right.
Vaccine attitude. So what we have to do.
And we call it community outreach. Forced vaccinations or community outreach.
Is we have to intensify what we call community outreach, to be very transparent with the community, to talk to them about the trials, to ensure that in the conduct of trials, we don't compromise safety and we don't compromise scientific integrity.
Now, what this was telling me is they plan on doing big trials with real people, and they're going to do community outreach.
The public at large.
Yes, and do community outreach and let you know that you're just fine. It's okay.
Well, unlike you, I believe that mainly because of the swine flu episode that I got to see the lines, people will be jumping on this.
Of course they will.
Fauci has got a negative attitude. He's been around too many skeptics.
Yeah.
The public will jump all over. They want the vaccine.
I agree with you. They're ready for it. Yeah, I'm ready, Mr. Gates. Jab it in me. Need it, Bill. Dr. Bill. Save us, Dr. Bill. Yeah. So, there you go. But I think our conclusion of this little episode is the same. We need Ira replaced with a black journalist. Ira, is this the only show Ira does, or does he have other shows?
I don't know. He's got to go.
He's got to go.
He himself mentioned it at the beginning of the show. He signed his own, sealed his fate.
Really?
I think so.
Well, let's listen to that beginning.
We need more black voices.
This is Science Friday. I'm Ira Flato.
Thank you.
I want to talk about something for a few minutes.
By the way, back in the day, this guy's audition tape, you and I would have been, next.
Oh, he'd been out.
He's not going to get on my air. Well,
here's what'll make it fair.
Okay.
New auditions for the host.
Yeah.
Now, he may own the show, so that's not going to happen.
Oh, okay. Well, then they should remove the show. No, then we should create a new one and remove the show. We'll have Mo host it. It's going to be great.
Anybody? Yeah, Mo would be good. Now, the point is that you have a guy who you just say, you start over, say, okay, yeah, no, we're not firing you. We're just going to do new auditions and let the best man win. It's like quarterbacks in the NFL. A new guy comes along and he's better than you. You get put on the bench.
And we'll have a very diverse panel, a blue ribbon panel. It'll be completely diverse. We'll have a white guy. We'll have a white guy, a woman, a black guy, a black woman, some trans. What else can we throw in? OJ. We'll just throw some stuff in there.
OJ and a couple of Chinese guys.
Let me listen to the rest of that.
This is Science Friday. I'm Ira Flato.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something for a few minutes before we get started today.
Okay.
Here at Team Sci-Fry, we support the protests demanding racial justice because Black Lives Matter. We know in the long history of Science Friday, we haven't included diverse voices as much as we should have. As a media platform with a large audience, we recognize our equally large responsibility to act in service of social good.
I don't hear him saying black voices anywhere, so.
He said black voices. You missed it. It was the sentence before that last one.
As much as we should have. As a media platform with a large Black Lives Matter. We know in the long history of Science Friday, we haven't included diverse voices as much as we should have.
Diverse voices.
We have not included. No, because that's systemic racism, bro. Because you're in charge. You're the boss, You need to have a vote. Goodbye, Ira. You know what's good for him? The noodle gun. Pull out the noodle gun. Here we go. That's my noodle gun.
Well, he is the executive producer, so he probably owns this show. That explains why he's the host.
Listen, man,
you said it a minute ago. He's not qualified. He's got the wrong kind of voice.
Yeah,
it's not even a good NPR voice.
Wrong skin color.
He sounds like this.
Now, of course, he used the Black Lives Matter slogan, and Mo caught something. We did a whole deconstruction on MoFax about the Black Lives Matter, and it's something I suggest people can listen to if they have the time. I like that show. But on this show, I will steal a clip from that show because Mo identified something very interesting to the setup for this entire thing after the George Floyd death. So it has nothing to do with that. How that was set up or not or triggered is irrelevant. We got a dead black guy and a very guilty-looking cop with some other cops. And I think Floyd was officially pronounced dead at 9 p.m. The next morning, 6:45 a.m. is when the very frazzled Jacob, what's his name? Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, made a statement. And it was in this very short statement, and of course, I didn't catch it, Mo did, that it was very clear that this, and remember, there's no Black Lives Matter, nothing had happened. I mean, yes, something had happened, but, we had that one very unrestful night, and this is what the mayor came out and said. And these things, of course, are not off the cuff. They're written, they're discussed, and no mayor goes out and speaks in front of crowds or in general, in front of crowds or the media without having run, especially not this guy, I think, without having run it by some of his people. And here we go.
For the better part of the night, I've been trying to find the words to describe what happened. And all I keep coming back to is that he should not have died. What we saw was horrible. Completely and utterly messed up. This man's life matters.
1.
He matters.
2.
He was someone's son. Someone's family member. He was someone's friend.
I think we need to wrap it up. One more for good measure.
He was a human being, and his life mattered.
3. There's your 3. That's all you need. In 20 seconds, 3 times mattered. He was setting it up.
That was signaling.
Totally. That was the message.
Good to go, boys.
Let's go. BLM, saddle up.
Well, everybody knows this was all this is though Antifa, who is the radical arm of Black Lives Matter, had everything in place because all these spontaneous demonstrations were just too coincidental, all in Democrat-held mayorships areas.
And governorships.
Democratically controlled towns.
Mm-hmm.
You had Oakland, San Francisco locally. You had Austin.
Yep.
I guess Philly. I don't know about Baltimore. Chicago for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Where all hell broke loose, and that was all triggered at the same. All happened at the same time. Very coordinated. It was an insurrection. It was a shot, but again, you and I have discussed this part of it. May have been a little too soon.
Oh, no, I think they're way too soon. Although it is now perfectly timed.
For a second go round.
Yeah, and the second go round it'll be up to Ellison, Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, because all you need to do is let the cops off at the right moment. I mean, he determines when it goes to trial, is going to set that all up. I would say October surprise, anybody? And, they're asking for murder 2, which is by itself, I think wrong. Should be 1, but okay.
No. Murder 3. It should be murder 3. They can convict on 3. They can't convict on 1.
No, I'm just telling you what it really should be is 1.
Oh, you mean for him?
Yeah. Well,
it's not over yet. They could jack it up to murder 1, which is a guaranteed
that he's going to get off.
You can put it to you can give it so you can make it so the jury can choose, but I don't think in Minnesota that's possible. I think if you put them up for murder 1, they have to convict on murder 1. They can't back it off.
You can't step it down.
We're going to give him murder 3.
We're going back,
do it.
Downgrade to Windows 95. Oh, can't do that.
Yeah, they can't go, but can downgrade.
Can't do that
like you did. So,
but either way, October will be a great time. End of October, just before the election. Let's get everyone crazy. Let's make sure that we can't go out because of the riots. That's why mail-in votes.
This is why this can be stopped, and it would be stopped by the feds coming in and taking over the cases as some sort of a
like FBI federal case could take over whatever's happening.
Make it a federal case.
Well, that maybe. Well, they'd have to put. No, it's not their jurisdiction. They have to do something to. Make
No, there's civil rights violation. It is their jurisdiction.
Yeah. Okay.
You can go in there and take it over.
Well, they're not doing it, but they're not doing it, and you got to wonder why. What the hell is going on? It doesn't seem like the Justice Department.
I don't think they're thinking the no agenda terms. They're not thinking of it the second go around. Trump's flat-footed. And Barr's got other things on his plate. He's, still working on the Michael Flynn stuff, trying to get that to work out.
I got a problem, not just me, but Barr seems to, I don't know what he's doing. He must be doing something really important. But if you listen to Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch, who has been going after Hillary Clinton and the deleted emails that she deleted, the BlackBerries she had smashed up with hammers, the server she had completely wiped. So this was supposed to happen. They were supposed to get her in to testify. And apparently something's gone awry because Tom Fitton is pissed.
Not one word of concern about the misconduct. Not one word of concern about the accountability. Attorney General Barr, why on earth would you let your attorneys come into court and basically dismiss the concerns of tens of millions of Americans and your own Justice Department about the legal activity of Hillary Clinton? I don't understand. Secretary Pompeo, your State Department's taking that legal position as well. But it goes to show you that Judicial Watch, I'm not just here, obviously you're talking about stuff, but we're doing other things. I'm talking about activity. We're in court. We have probably about 100 lawsuits active now. We filed probably nearly 1,000 by this point. Thousands of Freedom of Information Act cases. So once again, it's Judicial Watch in court doing the heavy lifting to hold Hillary Clinton accountable to the rule of law. Because Congress doesn't want to do it, the State Department doesn't want to do it, and the Justice Department doesn't want to do it.
And he doesn't draw the logical conclusion, that's because they're all corrupt, Tom Fitton. No one wants you uncovering any crap. They definitely don't want off-server emails Because everyone's got one of those. They want no part of uncovering what really happened because they know they're next. Corruption is our problem. Corruption in law enforcement, corruption in the medical system, of course, corruption in politics, the educational system. Corruption. It's true. When you think about it, that's the problem. Not racism. It's true. It's corruption. Meanwhile, Adam Housley on Twitter, who has a blue check mark, so it must mean something, says criminal referrals have already been sent to the Justice Department, and the overall number may reach as many as 16 to 17 by the end of the week. I was hoping for thousands. Investigators are working on additional ones as we speak. Thousands of sealed indictments on the way.
16 or 17.
16 or 17. Well, that could include some important ones. You don't know. It could happen.
Uh-huh. I'm not holding my breath.
I'd like to do a quick little rundown on the noodle gun that we discussed, because I have some updates and some new cases I think we should keep on our radar. And I will.
Well, you're on a roll. You might as well stay on a roll.
Okay, because then I'll be rolled out. So the noodle gun. Some people didn't understand it. But we'll just do a quick recap.
Well, you better re-explain it, because it needs to be explained, because this is a major new development in the show's memes.
Yes. So Noodle Nation.
Well, Noodle Boy's not new, but the noodle gun is new.
So Noodle Nation is where we all live, and Noodle Nation is comprised of noodle boys and noodle girls. And who is a noodle boy is exactly what you heard with Occupy Wall Street, but we have a very specific example. I'm not going to play it again. You can hear it on the last show. Where it's like, hey, man, it's not fair. I work at Noodles, and we should have more say, and the owner should, let us make decisions and run the shit. It's just completely out of his gourd, thinking that it's unfair that they tell you what to do, and as a worker, you have to do it. He literally said things like that. So this was 10 years ago or 9 years ago. So we identified this as not a very good trend amongst young people. And these young people are, of course, the ones that are now out with good heart and good intent, saying, hey, ho, racism's got to know, send my skateboard and weed money to Black Lives Matter, which, of course, is routed directly into Act Blue, which is to help to elect Joe Biden and re-elect Democrats, is not really going towards a bailout fund. Some may, but not those. And they've discovered, the Noodle Boys and Girls of Noodle Nation, that with social media and cell phones, you can pressure companies. Well, it started with entertainment, and it's the cancel culture. You can cancel someone, get them to say what you want, or if someone's not saying anything, you just say, oh, you know what? Silence is complicity. Silence is violence. And you shame someone into saying things. So they've been doing this with companies. Go ahead.
Now, before you go on any further, I want to mention that, and I do have one clip about this. I want to mention that I am now looking for the roots of this. And we were getting some email just naturally without me even suggesting it. But I would like to find out where the turn. There's a spot where things switched, and these kids took over. And I'm looking for the genesis. I want to know when this happened. Now, it's hard to say. It looks like the beginnings of it started in the universities,
right? But I think yes.
But when's the first example? I want to, for example, throw one. I want to do a timeline.
How about Milo? I would say Milo is one of the first big cancellations.
I would go way before Milo and go to Paula Deen.
Paula Deen? Okay. I mean, we can go back as far back as you want, but
I want to go back. I want to make a list. I want to make a huge list of the Hall of Shame.
What's important now is that the Noodle Boys and Girls are in these companies. And I might as well tell this part of the story as well. The marketing and advertising firms who have been trolling through Twitter for years have decided that in the past, sometimes it was leopard print's going to be the new trend, or, purple is the new black, or come up with anything. Woke. It was virtue signaling, and wokeness was the trend. And so all the big brands who took the advice from their advertising companies and their marketing professionals started to do woke stuff. I'll give you an example. I have some wokeness here from Tim Cook. Mark from Apple.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
The unfinished work of racial justice and equality call us all to account, now and always. Growing up in Alabama during the civil rights movement, I saw firsthand that the only thing that ever made lasting and durable change was people of goodwill putting aside comfort and safety to speak up, to march, to call for accountability, and to do what they could to make a flawed society more perfect.
And pay real close attention to Tim Collins here, because this is going to come, all of this will come back to haunt him.
So it is today. We're at an important moment in our history.
Important.
A time when progress, which has been far too slow, feels suddenly poised to move forward in a great leap.
Really?
Each of us has a role to play in making sure we rise to the occasion. Things must change.
Okay.
And Apple's committed to being a force for that change.
What are you going to do?
Today, I'm proud to announce Apple's...
He did that, did you hear that announcement?
I did not.
He could have said what to make that change. Today, I'm proud to announce the latest in our iPhone lineup, iPhone 99. Listen, it's the same cadence.
Things must change, and Apple's committed to being a force for that change. Today, I'm proud to announce Apple's Racial Equity and Justice Initiative with a $100 million commitment.
It's just like announcing an iPhone. He doesn't give a crap.
No, you're absolutely correct. It sounds just like
same cadence.
You could have actually, if you would add a little more time.
I could have cut it right in, couldn't I? The new iPhone. I bet you it would fit perfectly. The point is that there are people who work within Apple. And these people within Apple are going to see inequities and what is this? The Apple, what was it was a funky name, by the way. Let's listen to the name.
Racial equity and Today, I'm proud to announce Apple's Racial Equity and Justice Initiative.
Racial Equity and Justice Initiative. Sounds like you ain't getting nothing, black
people.
Doesn't
it sound interesting? Because when he says and justice, it sounds like injustice. It sounds like racial injustice.
I sent the note to Mo. I said, we better get some bank from Tim Collins over there. Send us some money to the podcast, man. There are people inside Apple who are going to see inequality. Of course, there's inequality. Certainly within Apple. Do they have the same amount of men as women? Maybe. Enough trans? Maybe. To the bathrooms? Okay, no. How about black people? How about brown people? No. Believe me, it's too low. And so they are going to get shamed. And this virtue signaling will come down on him. Tim Cook should watch his 6.
It's going to come. Watch his 6
for a number of reasons.
What have you been watching these shows on television shows? I'll be on your 6, boss.
I don't know what's going. I'm trying to watch World War II movies. Take my mind off of stuff.
So this is going to hurt the brand at some point.
Oh,
and people are going to. It's going to be not cool to have an Apple phone.
And here it comes. That's going to be the noodle gun. It's going to hit you right in the face, Tim. Now, there's a whole bunch.
You should have just laid low.
There are a whole bunch that are on deck, but first, 2 minor things. The CrossFit CEO, I got a number of emails from people who thought I was being horrible about this, but I went back and listened.
Why were you being horrible? What did they say to you?
Well,
did they hurt your feelings?
They confused the virtue signaling a noodle gun with my example of, hey, the CrossFit CEO had to resign. Now, he's the owner, so it doesn't really mean anything. And if you look deeper into the CEO of CrossFit, he's a very interesting guy and is probably very no agenda oriented. And people thought that I was saying he was a virtue signaler. No, I said he had to make a move. In this case, maybe didn't make a lot of difference to his organization, but he was very vulnerable. He did that not just because of hassle, because people were canceling. So, and all he really tweeted was Floyd 19, but there was a lot more that he's been involved in, and it seems like actually, as I said, a kind of a no agenda guy. But here's another example. As you know, we talked about anthropology, and anthropology, big virtue signaling, big Black Lives Matter. Oh, we love them so much. But now the rumor going around, oh no, we're canceling anthropology because they use the word nick. They use the word nick for black people in the store. You need to watch those nicks. And this was taken by American underinformed, over-socialized children as an N-word and a racial slur. Anthropology is part of Urban Outfitters. It is a publicly listed company. They take this very seriously. And several of our producers reached out. And this producer's wife worked at Urban in the Anthropology for 10 years. Nick was used, but had nothing to do with black people. It was a word to describe someone who was going to nick something. The British term
steal.
Nick.
That's an old British term.
And it's a Mr. Nick or Mrs. Nicole. Not Nick as in Negro or other N words. And one of our producers sent in an exact example of how this would sound over the headsets at Anthropology.
Hey guys, just wanted to let you know Nick's in the store and he's in the second section. He's just looking at some shirts and just wanted to let you know, keep an eye on him. Go over and see if he needs some extra help. He's a great customer.
So this term has been used in their stores for years. And now all of a sudden people think, oh, the underinformed, over-socialized children are like, they are the racists. They have racist thinking. Racist thinking.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just clearing that up. Now, let's look at some of the noodle gun hits and misses. I think the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, we consider that a noodle gun hit. I think they nailed it. You probably read after the last show that Colin Kaepernick has interest from an NFL team. Colin Kaepernick has a team interested in him. Do you know which one? Have you heard anything about it?
Seattle, probably.
And he'll play, man. He's gonna play.
No, he won't.
Anyway, that's not a noodle gun yet. It's on deck. They're working on it.
He's been on deck at Seattle before, and then they nixed it, and now they're going to do it because of the local politics.
Man, you really shouldn't say nixed. That's really, be careful. You'll be canceled in 2 seconds. Here comes noodle gun.
Yeah, well.
John,
that goes.
John Cleese, besides Monty Python, had another very successful series, Faulty Towers. Yeah, that's been removed from streaming sites because, of course, British humor from 35 years ago is no longer funny. It's racist. Cornell professors declare informed commentary criticizing the protests as racism against one of their own professors. They want him fired. UCLA professor is actually under police protection following threats. He is the one. Let's see, what did he not want to do? He didn't want to request he declined a student's request for a delay of a final exam in light of national unrest. So fire that guy. Howard Stern under fire for past use of blackface and use of the N-word. We all saw it back in the day. Starbucks, of course, a total direct hit. As the Black Lives Matter attire is permitted. You predicted that on Thursday. Ice Cube, even the left, I would say pretty radical left Ice Cube rap meister extraordinaire is angry about Paw Patrol being canceled. The cartoon Paw Patrol was canceled because one of the dogs is a cop. Noodle gun, direct hit. YouTube is also creating a $100 million fund, quote, dedicated to amplifying and developing the voices of black creators. Woohoo! That's not the end of it for you, YouTube. That's going to end very poorly. You will be called out as horrible racist misappropriation of funds. You're not going to win. There's too many noodle boys and girls inside your organization.
Oh, it's loaded.
St. John's immediately fires fencing coach after recording of racist comment leaks. No idea what he said. Berklee College of Music apologizes for allowing Boston police to use restrooms during protests. Oh, no, noodle gun.
Well, that's pathetic.
The entire Florida City...
Were they supposed to do pee on the street?
Yeah. The entire Florida City SWAT team resigned after the police chief kneeled with protesters. Police chief noodle gunned. On deck, I already said we have the stem. We got the stem. We also have... What else do we have? Shoot, I thought we had one more. Anyway, so that's just what's on deck now. You can wait for... You just keep your eyes open. It's everywhere. It's happening around you.
Well, there's actually a podcast that specializes in this now.
Oh, really?
And they had this woman who does the podcast, Katie Herzog, who's a lefty, on the Jay Rants show, which is actually a radio show up in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And she's lived in the Chaz zone and talks a little bit about it here. But this has got me into this, finding out the origins of this turnaround, because at some point there was a critical mass of the noodle boys, as you like to put them.
Mm-hmm.
Or the noodle gun, and she's also looking for it too. And she comes from a left-wing perspective, and she's quite irked about the whole situation. I get this clip from the show.
Where is this coming from on the left in particular? Is it generational, or is it purely ideological, or maybe a little bit of both?
I think it's both. A lot of people would argue that this is something that really started a long time ago with, Foucault and postmodernism and critical theory. So it started in academia and has really merged or really spread from there. And when you do see this, colleges were doing trigger warnings and things like that, probably even 10 years ago, probably even longer in some schools, like places like Oberlin, I would imagine. And people like me and you would talk about how this is a problem, this sort of safetyism, this cancel culture, call-out culture on college campuses. And a lot of people, particularly on the left, would respond and say, they're just college kids. College kids have always been crazy, which is true. But the problem is they don't stay on campus. Mm-hmm. And now these people have entered institutions, and in some cases they are taking over those institutions, pushing out senior people. And I do support workers' rights. I think workers should have power as well. But they're focusing their power in ways that comes across as incredibly authoritarian. And so if you make one mistake currently or in your past, you can be in danger of having basically, a mob of people in their 20s and 30s or sometimes older walk out on your business. Like Hachette, the publisher of Woody Allen's memoir, canceled his book, actually pulped his book. It had been printed and actually pulped his book, costing them I don't know how much money, because staffers at the publishing house didn't want that book published.
It's absurd. You talk about an instance of something similar, although way crazier, with a grocer out of Minnesota who ends up losing the lease to his building, essentially over something that was said a very, very long time ago.
Yeah. It's a problem. And people, we've become programmed to respond to an outrageous headline. And it's very easy. The so diverse Apple actually, makes black workers go to a separate bathroom, something like that. Doesn't even have to be true. Doesn't even have to be true. It can, and a public company can. So this is not necessarily a racial issue, but
This would be a trader's delight, let me tell you right now.
Well, thank you for saying that. Salesforce had their, their quarterly call. Would that make sense already? Do they have their quarterly call yet?
They do quarterly calls.
Yeah, that must be their quarterly, which means the CEO is on, but also the CFO, and clearly someone from HR as a very interesting. And when you report your numbers, you sit down. There's a big phone conference. And typically it's analysts calling in and say, hey, guys, great Q. Way to go. Jay, really fantastic. Listen, I have a question about the deferred stock option. Some other bull crap they're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out the real meaning behind the numbers, etc. Until this one came on, and it was so jarring, I guess, to Benioff, who was there to answer, that he was silent and, I guess, put it on mute, motioned to his HR lady to pick it up.
Your next question is from Justin Danoff of the National Center for Public Policy Research.
And Salesforce is a very valuable company. I mean, the stock price moving on Salesforce makes a difference for a lot of people, including people with 401ks at this point.
For today's annual meeting, he filed a shareholder resolution with the goal of having Salesforce amend its Equal Employment Opportunity, EEO, policy to protect employees from potential viewpoint discrimination.
So what I think this guy is saying is, hey, at the shareholders meeting, we entered in, we put a shareholders resolution. We wanted something, and so he's addressing that now on this call.
Rather than doing so, the company petitioned the SEC, arguing that it was within its ordinary business operation to discriminate against its employees based on their ideologic views.
This is very important because we have something new. He says the company denied the shareholder proposal and appealed to the Securities Exchange Commission and said, we do not want that. We feel our business model sometimes requires us to be discriminatory against different viewpoints. I think this is a very important, if this ever goes to trial or if anything ever happens, because here we're talking about something not new in concept, but it has a name: viewpoint discrimination. It's new.
Given Silicon Valley's well-known liberal leading, combined with Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff's far-left public-facing statements and action taken on behalf of the company, we are concerned that conservatives may face a hostile work environment at the company. Furthermore, the company is ignoring the financial risks of viewpoint discrimination. Alphabet recently ended a years-long lawsuit for firing a conservative engineer. Given all this, will you commit today to amend Salesforce EEO policy to explicitly protect against discrimination based on viewpoint and ideology?
So I like this clip because it shows that this works both ways. Here's someone who clearly represents a different viewpoint, a right-wing or conservative viewpoint, is now saying, hey, look at these other companies who have been sued. Is that really what you want, Mark Benioff? Or will you? That's what he's saying. Or will you?
You know,
yeah.
I just have to mention some irony here. Is that going back again on my preoccupation with the origins of this? Mm-hmm. We have to remember that it was the family council or some other thing that used to do cancel culture against TV shows back in the 60s and 70s and maybe the 80s. And they would do, they were right wingers going after shows that had any left wing bias whatsoever. And they would get the shows canceled by going after the advertisers. And then that kind of died down because they were kind of crackpotty. And it was picked up by the left. The left bitched and moaned about this, but they decided now they're going to do it. This is just okay. I have a good clip later that kind of talks about the ludicrous nature of this swap.
Well, let's do it now because I just got a couple seconds left on this. So there's the silence, which is a good 10 seconds, 8 seconds before anyone spoke. And you know what's going on. It's on mute, and Benioff is going, you answer that HR lady.
You're absolutely correct. You could just, if you were in the room there, Benioff's eyes had opened up. He was going, doing a throat slash thing and hitting his button and pointing at somebody radically, violently pointing at the HR person and pointing.
You're up, lady.
And then motioning to get to the
we all
on the call. Exactly.
Yeah. You really don't want to be in HR at the moment that question comes. Here we go.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Danoff, for your question and your interest in the company. We have a long-standing belief that it is important to have a diverse set of views and policies within our company, and our employees reflect that. It is very important to our company. It's important to our values.
Oh, yeah.
Our values that have long stood by us at the company, and we continue to believe in those. As we pointed out in our proxy and through the proposal, we believe that the proposal that was presented was not appropriate for the proxy this year.
Yeah, blah. But I'm telling you, viewpoint discrimination will be a thing. It's a horrible name, but I think it will catch it because it's also VD. I like that. Hey, man, that's VD. And
well, if you're gonna start going down the road they've gone, which is what we've been talking about for the last half hour.
But this is much.
It has to go further.
Yes,
you can't stop walking.
Yes, this is much bigger than anyone realized. This what first was just cancel culture is something much bigger. Benioff's afraid. He's afraid. You can say he isn't. He has more money than he needs, but he doesn't want this hassle. But they're in your own company, man. It's like it's normal. You have a group of people that have different ideas. But if you're going to virtue signal, and I have to give Noodle Boy some respect, it's like you're not really representing all the views. You should either shut up, just do some business, or put up. Then they can't, because inherently it's just word salad. They don't mean a lick of it. Oh, here's $100 million. Tim Cook could drop his wallet. $100 million could fall out. He wouldn't give a crap. I'm presuming.
Well, he might be a tightwad. He only wears the same clothes all the time.
I know, man. Working at Apple is cheap. You only wear a turtleneck, so you're good to go. So,
well, I don't know where this is headed, but obviously it's going to be a point of discussion for the show.
Yes, for sure.
I do have a couple of things that are kind of offset that. These notions.
No, let's do this.
I have two clips. I thought I had two here. I should have dug this up. Glenn Greenwald was on the Rising, and
is that
some interesting comment.
Is that the Crystal Ball show?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, catch you.
And it's the Christian Sagar, who I think is more entertaining. But he does a thing on Flynn, which brings in a number of these points. Greenwald, who's an old school progressive, wisely lives in Brazil.
Yes.
He's like some of these other guys. We had these radical lefties on some clips a couple of years ago saying, I don't understand why the progressives and the left are all cuddling up to the FBI and the CIA all of a sudden, and they're all in with this kind of thing. It doesn't make any sense historically. And Greenwald has some similar thoughts here on this Flynn update.
The case of Michael Flynn. You saw, Glenn, I mean, you've covered here, and we've had Matt Taibbi and others just about the abuses and the cases, and the case against Flynn, and regardless of how you feel about Flynn himself personally. Now we're seeing some developments going on with the judge. I just want to give the audience a quick update on that. What can you tell us about this? Judge seems to be declaring that the Department of Justice wanting to drop a charge against Flynn is an abuse of power by the Department of Justice itself.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. For years, the idea that lying to the FBI was even a crime at all was a kind of reactionary view of the criminal justice system, and liberals were the ones leading the way in denouncing it. I think we talked about before that the jurist who wrote probably the most compelling opinion about why lying to the FBI should not be a crime is named Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Boing.
And the person who went further than her, refusing to even...
And that's just recent. Didn't she just write that?
No, I don't know when it was.
I thought it was recent.
I think it was older, but it is...
Well, it's within the last 87 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it's always good to note that the lying to the FBI, which everybody's now he lied to the FBI, he lied to the... All these liberals are saying this, when in fact the liberals are the ones that always thought this was bogus.
You say liberals with such disdain. It's liberals. You just hate him. Oh, man.
FBI should not be a crime is named Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And the person who went further than her, refusing to even recognize it as a crime despite the law saying that it was John Paul Stevens. So it was always a left-wing liberal view that even lying to the FBI shouldn't even be a crime. And what's interesting is that now you have a judge who is refusing something extremely rare, which is the Justice Department saying we were overzealous in our prosecution. We want to drop a lying to the FBI prosecution, and liberals are acting like this is some grave threat to the republic. And what Judge Walton did is he had John Gleeson, who I know very well. He's a former district judge, a former federal judge from Brooklyn, from the Eastern District of New York, in front of whom I practiced when I was a lawyer, who was known as, he was used to be a prosecutor. He's always been a very pro-prosecutorial judge, which is why they selected him. Now essentially advocating for, I don't know for whom, for the judge, I guess, in saying that the prosecution against Michael Flynn should continue, even though the Justice Department has concluded that it was unjust. Imagine how threatening that is to just the basic rights of a defendant. We want prosecutors to drop prosecutions when they conclude that it's unjust. For the judge now to say we're not going to let you is an incredible abuse of the criminal justice system, which liberals are supposed to be working to weaken, not strengthen.
So it hit me listening to this, and Glenn Greenwald would be the guy to figure it out. The genesis of all this is really the noodle boys and girls entering the journalistic workforce. And I would say dating back at least 3 years to the the Steele report, the Russian hooker P report tape, whatever. The virtue signaling that, and it was really the journalists who made that happen. And I'm talking about the ones at BuzzFeed, at Vice, at Vox, at The Verge, a lot of V's. And they're all on Twitter, and they're all check marked, and they're all outraged. And, if you really who makes the biggest mistakes of shit they say, it's the journalists, and they always delete their tweets and get rid of it. Somehow I think that's really where the change started to happen, because they pick up the stuff that's bubbling, they amplify it amongst themselves, and then they take it to print.
Well, I'm not.
It's just a thought.
I'm not subscribing yet, but I'll say this. I've noticed that all these journalists within the same age period, and many of them have moved on from BuzzFeed, and they're at the New York Times. I know of plenty of people that are at the New York Times that started off elsewhere, and they got shuffled into the New York Times, and they have their Twitter feeds, and I can document. I've always thought about it, but it was like overwhelming. I couldn't do it. Biased tweets from all these journalists. And there's very clear ways, this is my opinion. Okay, it's your opinion, but you're right there. It said you're a New York Times reporter, and your opinion, it seems to be that you hate Trump, and you don't think that's going to get into the mix. It's just my opinion. This is my opinion. It's possible that let's face it, the journalists have been the progenitors of all of the mess. With the lousy reporting, the biased reporting, the jumping on this and jumping on that.
Unnamed
You're
sources.
Right, and they're the ones who are, right. Dubious, yeah, right. People who knew, the sources, they're unnamed sources. And they're all, and now they're pushing their weight around within the organizations, getting certain editors fired from both the New York Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and elsewhere. Bon appetit.
Yes, bon appetit. That's right.
Yeah, poor guy. And these are stuff that took place years ago. I mean, that Bon Appetit thing, I didn't realize the guy was in brown face, which means he put some bronzer on in 2013 and got fired. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Put some bronzer on. It's like TV makeup. You're fired.
We may not be high-powered people. We may not have high-paying jobs. But man, I feel job security. You know what I'm saying? I feel real good about right where we are.
We're the two luckiest guys. We're both in regular media
ever.
We're in regular media. Now we're these mediocre. You're mediocre. We're not mediocre. We're the best podcast in the universe. But it's beside the point. We're in a kind of a bubble of podcasting where it's if people stop listening and they start giving us money, we're out of business. But that's not happening.
No,
because we're providing the information that everyone knows we're right. This is the issue here.
Pretty much.
We're right about this stuff.
in broad lines, yes. We don't get it always right.
We screw up. I mean, get the Belgian population off. But generally speaking, when it comes to this sort of this analysis of the culture change, which is incredibly important. People know they listen to it.
Also, it's
nobody else will talk about this.
It's protests. It's not protests anymore. It's protests. Protests. Yep. You'll hear everyone say it. Protests.
You're going to go to the protests?
Yes, it.
Yeah. Man.
They're dropping the T in protests. Yes, protests. I'm telling you. So yes. And you know what? With that, why don't I just thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who just put the C in culture change, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all ships and sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
And a big and hefty hearty in the morning to all of the trolls who have been sitting there since early morning, listening to Darren O'Neill with the pre-show and trolling away with each other. And let's see, how many trolls do we count? 1802. Not bad. Yeah, not bad. That's good to have them there. This is noagendastream.com. Which is it's a great place to go hang out. There's a chat room. You can, it's a chat room, but in there you'll find trolls. So that's why we just call it the troll room. If you can name it, you can sell it. But what's cool about it is that's combined with a live stream, noagendastream.com, which is where you find both. So you go there and you can get into the troll room, troll around, listen, and you listen. It's a together experience. So you're listening to the same show together. Could be a podcast previously recorded or one live like this one is at this moment on Sunday. It works. People love it. It's been around for almost as long as the show has been around, maybe a couple of years after we started. And it's at noagendastream.com. When you're in there, ask someone to give you an invite for noagendasocial.com, which is our federated social network. Several thousand people on there, and there's always some good information. Very high signal to noise resolution. And then we have a thanks for the artwork for episode 1250. It was a no-brainer for both of us. We would like to thank Darren O'Neill, who we have concluded is wasting his talent. Darren is.
We got to find something for Darren to do to make some money.
He's so talented. I mean, this was the history being erased with a woke eraser. I mean, nailed it. He just nailed it.
Yeah.
And it's astounding how good he is. And it's not that there wasn't fantastic art from other people. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. There was all kinds of great ideas. But it's just like these things pop out.
He thinks like an artist. Artists they conceptualize differently than normal people.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not normal, are they? They're not normal. But
artists very rarely.
Yeah. But Darren is, man, he's very, very talented. And he's
got a great voice. He's got the voice for radio.
Darren is like, it's fantastic. Well, thank you, Darren O'Neill. We really appreciate it. That was a great piece of art. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can find all of the submissions. These days we got 10, 15, 20 artists doing it on the fly while they're at home listening, at work. God knows where they're doing these. But we really appreciate it. And, of course, these are used in many different places. You can get stuff from there. Use the artwork. Attribution required, obviously. NoAgendaShop.com. They use this all the time. And to reiterate, we have no affiliation with NoAgendaShop.com other than they use stuff from No Agenda Art Generator on Generator.com, which is also, we don't own any of that. Everyone owns their own stuff, but it's up there. We'd like to see it as open source. It gets onto T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, etc. A portion goes to the artists. The shop takes a piece, and they sometimes show up here and give us a piece. So it works. It's value for value. The network is very valuable. We've been building it for a long time, and we love thanking people who turn that value that they receive into actual numbers and tell us about those numbers, and we call it our donation segment. Here we go with our executive producers and associate executive producers for episode 1251.
Well, thank you for every hour of that intro. We have Nick Foster at the top of the list, who donated $1,683.50 from Kearney, Missouri. And because he's over $1,000, that means I'm going to open up a beer. And pour myself a glass.
Really?
Well, it's actually sparkling water.
Oh, okay. Now, can you take a sip and go, It's the one thing you
Thank you, Nick.
The one thing you actually hate.
I do. Of course, who doesn't?
Yeah.
He has a note. He's got his little clips for Adam. This is going to be a L. Sharpton dealer. Stop the hammering and a Corona Karma. Dear Crackpot and Buzzkill, I turn a quarter century old on the 14th of June. So he's 25. My donation amount is $1,683.50. Should bring me to Baron status. Okay, Insta Baron.
Yeah.
Well, not Insta Baron, but Baron. I would like to claim my current hometown of Kearney, Missouri as a territory to rule over. I'm not one to really believe in a higher power or things alike, but I will share a coincidence that can be observed. Last year, a few months before my birthday, I donated asking for jobs karma. This was after the company I was working for in the cryptocurrency space went belly up. I was at the lowest of the low with the... I'm just thinking a cryptocurrency company goes belly up. Oh, really?
No.
Holy moly. I was at the lowest of the low with the hugest amount of credit card debt. Boy.
Ooh, no.
Do yourself a favor and just keep one debit card. And just don't get into credit debt.
Yeah, don't buy your crypto with credit.
It's a ripoff. And buy everything cash. Anyway, he goes on and on. He says a credit card debt and a newly purchased house I could no longer afford.
Oh, my.
After requesting the jobs karma, it seemed like it didn't work for a few months, but out of the blue, when I was bitching to some contacts about my situation, I got a job offer. Possibly the job karma really works. It doesn't necessarily work instantly because no one's really asked for the insta job karma. because we don't have it. I took a job last summer, and I'm coming up on a year in a few months. While navigating these strange times, I've been able to see some places I've never been before and never thought I would ever see. He's traveling.
Yeah.
All the experiences I've ever had over the last 36 months managed to take a new understanding of a lot of topics as I go. I would be unfair not to give No Agenda some credit for having set my mind up with the ability to think critically and objectively. I've been listening to No Agenda since I was 16 or 17.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I've had a handful of friends who I've seen their amygdalas grow and the critical thinking skills decrease. When I compare my success for others, I've given high risk and high failure rate of what I have done in the past. I owe so much of my success to being able to have a clear mind. I'm one of the few that enjoys chaos. That is good. It's another funny line.
Nice.
Because you know what? We enjoy it too.
We do. We do.
It's fun. That's going on in the world right now. Coronavirus and civil unrest presents a great opportunity for people like me that can keep my head down and work while other people spin their wheels. I hope everyone in the No Agenda family can have the same positive outlook on life I have. It is an exciting time to be alive and try to get ahead. Peace out. Buy Bitcoin, Nick.
Okay, here's what I love about Nick. We've known this young gentleman since he was 16 years old, has grown up with the show, and here he is now becoming an Insta Baron. I'm very proud of you, Nick, and your journey is your journey, and the road brought you right to where you are today, and I'm very happy to see your enthusiasm. And thank you so much for supporting this. We're glad that you received some value for the past 10 years. Here's what you asked for.
RESPICT. Stop the hammering!
You've got Corona.
Now, you asked for the Corona, Karma, so that's up to you. I can't help that.
Bill Gress in Gulch, Michigan. 500.
Gulch.
That's where it is, mm-hmm. If you wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a loyal listener since year one, but I have to say that the shows over the past 10 weeks, and especially show 1250, have been pure effing good. Thank you, and keep up the great work. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Next on the list is Sir Neville James in North Lambton, New South Wales, 500. A few shows back, Adam mentioned a show from ABC Australia that may have a hidden agenda. Probably not hidden. The ABC TV and Radio, which stands for Australian Broadcasting Company, is fully funded by Australian taxpayer dollars and has a charter that decrees fair and balanced reporting. Any agenda is left and activist.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, so what else?
Yeah, what else? Yeah.
What you do when you get free money, you become a lefty. The ABC reports, like big media in America, on many of the same issues, CNN, ABC, NBC, many presenters and guests are activists, of course.
Yeah.
Evidence and fact, what kind of a job is that? And here she is, Joan, and she's an activist. It says activist on her chyron at the bottom.
You recall on one of those mass letters where 2,000 people signed on and said, we think it's okay for people to protest despite coronavirus. And one of the titles was African American, literally. And here's Wendell, African American.
Evidence and facts, he continues, are a minor issue unless it fits the lefty narrative. The ABC is super critical of Trump using Democrat evidence. Of course,
that is.
They attack or support attacks on conservative women, including the indigenous women. Our conservative government with its closet lefties, which is what we have too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Closet lefties, which cause the trouble, are cowards and do not do anything despite being constantly attacked by presenters. I will let you guess on where the ABC sit and report on the current protest, Black Lives Matter and Antifa Australia. Yeah, it's not organized, but there's an Antifa Australia. Anyway, so
but there's also Black Lives Matter. It's it's no longer about American white cops killing Black American people.
No,
it's all local now. Now it's all local. Yep.
Nancy Nichols is next on the list. 330. By the way, our list is top heavy today. We want to thank everyone for helping us.
Yeah.
$333.33 in Waco, Texas. The donations did well without Karen involved. Thank you, and keep doing what you do to keep us educated and informed. Shout out to my amazing boyfriend Don, who introduced me to the Texas Chili Parlor and No Agenda. He fights bullshit every day on many fronts and inspires me to do the same.
He sounds like a great guy, Nancy. And thank you very much for supporting the work here.
333 also comes in from Sir Leiron Dothan in Dothan, Alabama. Is that right?
Yep. Bama.
Yeah, but is it the name of a town his last name? I
have a feel. Maybe.
Oh, maybe he calls himself that because
so.
He's a sir.
Yeah,
It's a surname.
Yeah, he's a sir.
An SIR name. Congratulations. Thanks for the informative and entertaining shows through the plague, peaceful protests, and more. I rely on this show quite a bit for counter thoughts to the synced media information and depth of material referenced. My only request is jobs karma for the many needing work.
That's very kind of you. Sir Leiron Dothan in Alabama.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Do you have this note from Sean and Joel?
I do. I have it.
Oh, good. Nice.
Right here, and you can tell I have it.
Yeah.
Because it makes noise when I wiggle it.
Sounds legit.
Sean and Joel Edgington in Bisbee, Arizona, 33333. I'm currently dictating this letter to my plasma hot wife because I can't type for shit. Besides giving her credit for her typing skills, she also hit me in the mouth. She hit him in the mouth the day we met.
Nice.
4 years ago. We're firm believers in the couple that no agendas together stays together. We need a de-douching.
You got it. Big double douche.
You've been de-douched.
Thoroughly doused. Nice.
And this is our first donation to the best podcast. My plasma hot wife may need a bigger de-douching, though I'm not sure how you do that, as she has been listening since day one.
Oof.
My wife would call out.
So basically, the dude's married to us now. If she's been listening to us from day one, it's like laying in bed with Curry and Dvorak. There's no doubt about it. It's got to be a fantastic experience.
It's a foursome.
And you need to brush your teeth.
My wife would like to call out Zach in Alaska as a douchebag. She hit him in the mouth 7 years ago and is yet to donate. We are founders and operators of a successful nonprofit consignment store in Bisbee that supports our local homeless shelter and recovery house. If you've never been to Bisbee, we highly recommend it, but be prepared to immerse yourself in Dimension B when visiting, and be careful not to bump into the overly swollen amygdalas as they are rampant in our hippie border town. We are hosting the first Bisbee, Arizona meetup on June 21st.
Nice.
Wanted to serve mutton and meat, but I'm not sure what mutton is.
It's lamb.
Mutton is mature lamb.
Yeah. It's like surplus lamb.
And it stinks.
It's the opposite of veal.
Yes, it's the opposite of veal. Lamb is like veal and mutton is like beef, but it stinks.
Yeah.
And when you cook it, it stinks up the house.
Right. Yay.
And he doesn't know anyone who brews meat. So it's tacos and tecate.
There you go.
Anyways, as indicated by my Plasma Hot reference, my wife is a huge sci-fi nut. In her honor, can I please have the following jingles? I'm sorry, I should have given you this earlier.
We'll rock it.
Space Force, Pew Pew, and the Theremin with the goat karma.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So that's
Space
Force, Pew Pew, and Theremin with the and you should have Theremin at the ready.
Yeah, Theramin's
always. I know you don't.
Theramin's always at the ready.
Space Force.
Enclosed, please find a donation.
I'm sorry. I thought the note was over.
We poked this card out just for you. John, enjoy the glitter. Because the glitter card got all over the place.
Oh, no.
And by the way, you guys do your own accounting, so you can split this donation any way you want.
And did they want a karma as well, or just the Space Force?
Goat karma.
Oh, goat karma.
Space Force.
You've got karma.
You may read the next few notes while I look up Jennifer's email.
Jesse Schaefer from Stuart, Florida says, in the morning, gents. I've been a listener for close to a year now. You two have taken me from being a burner liberal, that's B-E-R-N-E-R, as in Bernie, I guess, into understanding how things actually work in less than a year. Well, that's like a $30,000 college education right there.
Yeah.
I am extremely grateful for the media deconstruction you bring and eagerly await each release. We love releasing to you. I also greatly enjoy every show on the live stream. Shout out to That Larry Show, Grumpy Old Benz, and Nick the Rat. Of course, that's noagendastream.com. The value for value model has settled it for me, and I can't stand any of the shows I used to listen to due to the constant ads in the middle of an important topic. I look for the best has got to be Ben Shapiro. He'll just be talking with you like this, and all of a sudden he says, "Gold! Do you have gold? You need gold!" And what the hell? It's very jarring, very jarring. I used to listen, yes, the ads. I look forward to becoming Sir Schaefer, Knight of Stuart, Florida, in the coming months. I would like to call out Cameron H. of Austin. Douchebag. Minnesota, that is, as a douchebag, as he has been listening since 2017, hit me in the mouth. I've also requested a de-douching for myself. We got that.
You've been de-douched.
And Trump Pelosi jobs karma would be greatly appreciated as my company has cut my salary, benefits, and bonuses based on bullcrap COVID projections, despite us being busier than ever. They're bastards. And if they got, I don't know how big your company is, but with the Paycheck Protection Program, they shouldn't be doing that. In fact, I think there's legalities, but it may be a very big company. But Jesse, thank you so much. And of course, we've got a little bit of Trump Pelosi jobs karma for you.
Jobs.
Oh, wait, this would be the one.
Jobs.
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 And jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And which one was that? I'm sorry.
So now we're at Rob After the Earl from Kansas City, 333. Long time since my last donation. Sorry about that, he says. NJNK, no jingles, no karma. And we're not, thank you. Don't worry about it. Rob Alter, the Earl who lives in Kansas City. Appreciate it, Rob. Thank you for your courage.
All right.
I'll do
Nathaniel.
Yeah, I'll do this one. You got one coming up. Yeah, Nathaniel Weirgau, 333 as well. These are fantastic numbers. The 33 lives large on today's show. This donation is a birthday present for my lovely, amazing wife, Suan. Sooin, Suan. Sunday is her birthday, and she's an OTG kind of lady, so may we request John singing the OTG jingle. Well, you actually can't have him singing the OTG jingle. We need to go to, let's see, I haven't pulled that one out in a while. Here we go. Yes, what else did we have? Oh, that's true. Afterward, also karma for all producers. Email to follow. I didn't see any other email. Did you? Because then we can just...
No, I didn't look for that one.
Thank you very much, Nathaniel. Yeah, I didn't know if you had any more, but we'll give you the all karma for producers. Of course.
OTG going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy. OTG going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy. Yeah. That's the OTG. Yes.
That's true. You've got karma.
All right. Jennifer Ugly in Russell, Kentucky, 28975. And she sent an email in.
Interesting number.
Oh, why?
I don't know. It's just, it's not.
I thought you caught something with it.
No, it's not sequential.
ITM Gents donated last night, and hopefully this note makes it. 28975 credit to my incredibly selfless, handsome husband, Matthew Ogley, for his 37th birthday on the 17th. I don't know that's on the list. Is that on the list?
No. Let me see. You keep reading and I'll check it out.
Okay, there's Matthew Ogley.
Mm-hmm.
Can you add him to the birthday list, please, and make sure he gets the producer credit? Okay, we can do that.
And is his birthday is today?
On the 17th.
Oh, the 17th. Okay.
He never spends a dime on himself, so I'm forced to do it for him. And thanks to the stimulus and pandemic unemployment, I was able to make this happen. Oh, well, thank you. Happy birthday, babe, she writes in uppercase. I love you. I love you bigly, and this brings you halfway to knighthood. Let me get the jingles out of the way, as I failed to do so at the beginning of my last donation. So, okay, sorry. Here we go. It's you got your pen.
Yeah.
Trump. I need Trump get it aroused, and Biden the whole load. And can you see that juice? This is gross, by the way, Jennifer. Jennifer. Can you see the juice? And Obama's "You Might Die."
Okay,
wait. There's more to the note, so you can dig
this
those
is
up.
all part of the birthday present. Seriously.
I guess. My husband and I have been through a lot over the past year. He graduated with 2 degrees, and we moved back to Western New York, hoping he'd find work in his field. But sadly, jobs karma has not worked out as of yet, so we'll take another dose. So they put that on the end.
You bet.
In the light of King Cuomo's executive orders and the scare tactics from the M5M, we were forced out of our housing as our roommate was convinced my 5 human resources, that's nice, would give her the Rona.
Oh, that's horrible.
We decided no longer could we take the miserable, unhinged leftist views of the great state of New York and refuse to go down with the ship. So we opted to move back to Kentucky, where we have been able to live out lives mask-free and soak up that vital vitamin D. My husband was able to go back to his old job, working for a local greenhouse owner, which has been his best year ever, and it can't seem to get plants to produce in stock. Can't keep them in stock. With all that said, I would like to extend a big thank you from the bottom of my heart to you and Adam, as you helped us get through these dark 6 months in New York and literally kept us sane and married. The no agenda couple that listens together stays together. In fact, we have human resource number 6 on the way.
I'll take credit. It's us, John. We did it. 6. Holy crap.
In late August, so some birthing karma would be helpful. Safe to say that we are definitely doing our part to support the economy, unlike most millennials who think their dogs will support them in old who think their dogs will support them in old age. You true have no idea you are changing the world and healing our hearts and minds in the process. Nice. Keep doing what you do. Here's to many more years. Love and light and health to all, Jen.
That is so
Jennifer.
That is so incredibly sweet. What a lovely note. By the way, baby birthing karma falls under jobs karma, just so you know. We consider that to be a part of
same thing.
Part of big job. That's really beautiful. Thank you. And I'm very happy you guys escaped and that you're happy in Kentucky. And yes, jobs karma, and we hope it works for you.
It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
Oh, my gosh. Can you see that juice?
You might not.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Nasty, Jennifer. Nasty.
Randy Holcomb comes in at $234.56 from Lake Forest, California. Thank you for all the great work and deconstructions you guys do twice a week. I've been a listener since the beginning, and your show almost never disappoints. Please keep it up. June 14th, Flag Day, will be turning... Oh, Flag Day, June 14th.
That's today.
Oh, jeez.
Another promotion, promotional opportunity missed. It's Flag Day. Vote, let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F, 6, F, L.
I will be turning the big 50 and thought this would be a great time to donate. You're on the list and should put me over qualify me for knighthood. I don't know if you're on that list.
Oh, hold on a second. Randy?
I donated over $500 during your 10-year anniversary and technically was a knight then, but I wanted to do it the right way by donating over $1,000. I would like to be known as the Knights of the AS400. IBM's mid-range computer.
Yes.
One of the most famous machines ever.
Used to be my client. I did all the advertising for them.
Again, thanks for all you do. Oh, I love those green screens. Please, I would like a goat karma and the respect jingle.
Okay. So it's Randy. Let me just get it right because it wasn't on my list. Randy Holcomb.
Holcomb, yeah.
Holcomb with a B. And he'll be Knight of the AS400. Was that the exact title?
Yeah. Somebody had to be.
Yeah, AS400 is like a spelling mistake in my spell checker.
Oh, somebody hates the machine.
It's so incredibly mean.
It's one of the greatest computers. That and the Burroughs B5000. I think two machines you can't.
It still rocks. I mean, the AS400 is still a division. It's still in business. They still make them. They just need dudes to be
updated.
Hopefully, Randy can program it.
RESPICT.
Oh, hello. What happened? Hello. What happened? Play. What's going on? Odd.
You've got karma.
Something.
Yeah, that's what happens when you curse the AS400.
Yeah.
Sir Jimmy James of the Flatlanders. Sir Jimmy James of the Flatlanders in Oklahoma City, $200.
Yeah, it works again. Sorry. Yes.
The value is more than I can pay for, but hopefully this helps. This is also in honor of the meetup happening in the Heartland today. Thanks, newly knighted Sir A.F. John. No jingles in karma, with GOAT, of course. No jingles with karma, I guess, with GOAT, for you two. Thank you for your courage. Okay, we'll take
absolutely. Jingle karma with a goat.
You've got.
Thank you.
Karma.
Dan Merchant, $200 from Deval, Tejas. Howdy, Crackpot and Buzzkill. First-time donation from a fellow Austinite after catching Adam on the Joe Rogan Experience. I shall deduce you. You may not know how it works yet, so let's make sure you get that.
You've been deduced.
Let's see. I have become addicted to your amygdala control twice a week and deconstructing the end of the world in steps. Love the show. I will be listening until the mothership lands to take us to safety. I look forward to the next meetup to maybe meet Adam, since I know JCD won't be making a trip to Texas anytime soon. Well, you never know. Can I get some goat karma? China is asshole and we're all going to die. And a massive deducing since I've waited till now to donate. And thank you for your courage, boys, with a Z. Can't wait for the party. Dan Merchant. No knighthood name determined yet. And I didn't have his jingles lined up. What did he want here? It was goat karma. Oh, China's asshole. And what was the last one? Goat karma. Oh, we're all going to die. Okay. And sorry about that. It's when I read the notes that it doesn't make it easy.
China is asshole.
We're all gonna die.
You've got karma.
All right. Last on the list, last in finishing this up, is Robert Hausner in Ontario, Canada. I don't know how to pronounce the name of this town. I
give up on that. I give up on that.
Anyway,
one.
He sent a note in with his email address, but to be honest about it, I can't find that note. And I used the exact address, but I did find another note from him written in on June 10th. When he donated 5017, so he's up.
I have a note here. I have a note here from. Is that also when? Is that the Wednesday? Was that the 10th?
Saturday, June 10th. I have a note from Saturday, June 10th.
Okay, then
he says your newsletters work. Thanks for the poop update. He says kombucha rock soda's kefir, but kombucha's. I would not advise it. It can't be reproduced.
You are not a kombucha fan. You really,
no, I think it's toxic.
Yes, you think it's poison.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Most of it's fake now. It's just a little vinegar water. They don't even make it. Most places don't even make real kombucha anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of it's health issues.
It's dangerous. It's not good for you.
So thanks for the work you do. No, I do not have that email. And
no, I don't have anything else.
Thank you.
Once you resend it, and yes,
we'll get to it eventually. Okay. Well, I want to thank all these folks. These are the executive and associate executive producers for show 1251, and they make it all possible along with our other donors. But to get a top heavy day like this is very
rare. It's beautiful.
It's welcoming. We're welcoming it.
Yes, welcoming. And these are real credits. Executive producer, associate executive producer of the No Agenda Show, episode 1251. Just 2 days ago, I received an email from one of our executive producers, and not from the executive producer, but from a firm who was looking to hire him. And I was a reference, correctly so. I was notified I was a reference to vouch for his producership, and I gave a glowing review. And we'll do that for anybody who is and for any producer, but certainly executive producers, associate executive producers. You've got the title. Put it on your put it on your resume. We'll be happy to vouch for you. Very happy to do that. The more jobs we can get out there, the better. And thank you to everybody who supports the show. We'll be thanking more in a little bit. As John said, top heavy today, so that'll be much shorter. We got meetups to talk about, all kinds of stuff. But remember, we have another show coming up on Thursday. If you'd like to join this merry little tribe and support us, just go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And remember, whatever you do, don't go into a hospital. You'll die.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order! Order!
Shut up, slave.
I did want to mention one other thing. We make mistakes. We miss stuff. We do stuff wrong. Happens all the time. If you're a producer and you notice something, I would like to give some people some ways in which a producer, an actual producer, works when talking to people who are putting the show together and are the talent of the show. There's two ways to approach this. You can say, hey, I have some personal experience with this. I think you missed something. You could have done something a little differently here. And if you have, here's some links, whatever you have, that's really the way to approach it as a professional producer. And if you have supported the show financially, you're definitely a producer. Here's what doesn't work very well.
Here it comes.
I can't believe you didn't see that. I'm never going to donate again. This is horrible. Okay, so that is not a very effective way to get me interested in your feedback. It is really, and I have to say, it hurts. Like, man, you're a producer. You're a producer. It's not like charity. You have a total valid reason to talk to us and say, hey, here's what I think you did wrong. But when you approach it from a hostile point, it just doesn't work. So it's just a friendly.
No, but it does get. But wait, there's a plus to it.
Okay.
The plus side is you get to hear Adam do that voice.
Yeah, there is. Yes, if you want to be the subject of the voice, we can certainly do it. But that's all. And I understand people are like, they totally screwed that up. It's wrong. Yeah, that's what we need to know. We're happy to correct stuff. Happy to. It's important. We need to. Anyway, like the Congo, these small things. Now, people were pretty nice about that, but also there was like, what an idiot. I'm like, no.
What an idiot.
Bottom line, as you heard earlier, we are idiots. We would not be anywhere near. Well, clearly, we're podcasters. This is where we belong. We're safe here.
Yeah,
it's okay.
We're down at the bottom of the broadcasting ladder.
The show business ladder in general.
Yeah, what? And quit show business? We're down here sweeping up elephant dung.
Hey, man, do you have oh, by the way, a reminder as well for people. If you want, we now do have.
Boogity, amen.
So we do have that requestable for your donations. And do you have a Kylie special? Anything Kylie today?
No. Kylie's only on Thursday.
On Thursdays? Show. Okay. All right. Because people are jacked about the Kylie specials.
Yeah. Well, you get it. I don't want to overdo it.
It's a great segment, though. End of show ISO ideas. I have one, I think.
I got nothing.
Okay. I have one. It was sent to me by a producer. I think it qualifies.
Thanks for the lecture, idiot.
I kind of like that one.
Thanks for the lecture.
A gem. That's Tucker, right?
I think so. That makes sense. Yeah. I think it's good.
It sounds like him.
Thanks for the lecture, idiot. Let's see. What should we do?
Well, let's play some off the wall stuff. Let's start with.
Here we go. Joe Biden. Is that where we go? Off the wall?
I wasn't thinking of going right on Biden, but we can do. We got some. Here's. First, let's talk about Biden before we get any Biden clips. This is Joe Biden and secret advisors. I thought this was worth knowing.
Secret advisors. Okay.
What did you make of just like the idea of secrecy around who is actually advising Joe?
Who is actually asking these questions? Where is this from? Can I just say?
Your voice gets on my nerves.
Who is that?
That's Crystal.
That's Crystal Ball? Oh,
What did you make of just like the idea of secrecy around who is actually advising Joe Biden?
I think it has to do with what happened a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, which was that two of his advisors leaked out. One was Larry Summers, a controversial figure, a guy who's seen as fairly aligned with the ideology of Wall Street. And then another story came out saying that Rahm Emanuel, the former Chicago mayor, former Obama chief of staff, is also advising Joe Biden. And, you know, those are two not such encouraging names to be on a list advising Joe Biden. They're people who aren't all that well liked. I mean, Rahm Emanuel left office in disgrace as Chicago mayor after a situation where his administration had essentially suppressed the video of a police murder of a teenager. So the idea that Joe Biden is being advised by these Democratic Party dinosaurs, controversial ones, I think it came out, people didn't like it, and now the Biden campaign is sort of like, you know what, here's our solution. We're just not going to tell anybody anything about who is advising the potential next president of the United States.
They're going to put the economic advisor list in the basement along with Joe.
I mean, David, what really caught our eyes, the New York Times reporter who even broke this story, he revealed one of his biggest qualms, Jim Tankersley, let's put his tweet up on the screen. One of the things that it really matters is that the Biden campaign telling their advisors they can't disclose their role allows those people to go on TV without identifying themselves as part of the Biden team. And so, I mean, look, what we do here on this show, like when you were working for the Bernie campaign, is we're like, hey, this guy works for the Bernie campaign, so the viewers can know. And same with any other advisor to a candidate. This is a real disservice that the media is also being complicit in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any illusion that there are not people on the payroll providing opinion without those credentials currently? Please. Are they shocked? Shocked?
He's shocked and dismayed.
Shocked, I tell you. Okay.
He had an interesting little thing on Biden that was about the media request for Biden. This was actually a good little rant from this guy Sagar, who we just heard, that was shocked and dismayed. But listen to this. This is Sagar on Biden media request.
Containing an open letter, it demands that Facebook, quote, promote real news, not fake news, quickly remove viral misinformation, end the pre-election quote unquote lie period, and enforce voter suppression rules against everyone, even the president. Now, all of this sounds innocuous until you really begin to dissect it. In essence, a candidate for president of the United States is asking for Facebook to begin fact-checking political advertising, including his own, especially 2 weeks before Election Day. Now, why would Joe Biden, a proven liar on dozens of issues in the public realm, from his role in the war in Iraq, his role in criminal justice, his record on trying to cut Social Security, and even on supposedly getting arrested while trying to see Nelson Mandela, want there to be fact-checking of political ads on Facebook? Well, the answer is simple, as all risers know. He knows that if Facebook were to ever get into the fact-checking business, that they would partner with the mainstream media, who have no problem giving Biden a blatant pass on his lies, while crying foul if Trump sneezes and calls it a cough. Then they rate it false, 4 Pinocchios, 5 stars. As I say every single time that we have this discussion, you may get a warm little fuzzy feeling when you see a lame CNN journalist call the big bad Donald a liar, but the neoliberalism that animates that CNN journalist is coming for you if you dare to hold anti-establishment views. These are the people who would fact-check AOC on the cost of Medicare for all. They're the people who got mad at Bernie Sanders for correctly saying illegal immigration depresses domestic wages. And they're the people who bend over backwards to say that we're all wrong on this show about trade because you're better off with some cheap Chinese crap. Their profession can better be described as neoliberalism checking, far more than fact-checking. But beyond the actual mechanics of fact-checking, think about the macro ask of the Biden campaign here. They want tech oligarch Mark Zuckerberg to determine what is true and what isn't in our political discourse. Or worse, they want Zuckerberg to appoint a weird so-called independent board of directors made up of a bunch of moneyed neoliberals to decide what we see and what we don't. Zuckerberg doesn't even want that. And neither do I. And neither should you.
Well, the media is very happy to fact-check Trump. I'm looking at Forbes magazine, as of early April, they're a little behind on the counting, Trump has told 23.3 lies a day. And that
what?
How
can you even do that?
That is a 0.5 lie increase since 2019. What's more, this is Forbes magazine. Trump has averaged 23.8 lies per day since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the U.S. Another 0.5 lie increase. Do they proofread this shit? Do they go like, man, are we really talking about 23.8 lies per day? Is that really the metric that Forbes magazine?
Pathetic.
Forbes magazine.
What kind of journalism is this? And these, as we've already documented, half of these lies aren't lies.
Have you read Matt Taibbi's new piece, "The American Press is Destroying Itself"?
Yeah,
must read.
I get it.
I subscribe. Yeah. I subscribe to his. What is that?
Yeah, I get it.
Sugar Stack, whatever it is. It's so. I think what he said is true, and this is just virtue signaling from Forbes. They got a virtue signal, otherwise they don't get access to the really rich people who aren't Democrats typically.
Now, Sagar said something. He followed this up with something. I have a part 2 of this clip, and let's see what that's. I don't remember it though.
Let's see what's going on.
Is part of a broader delusion that pervades the chattering class. These people genuinely believe that nobody in their right mind could have ever voted for Donald Trump unless they were tricked into doing so by some Moldovan bloggers, some stupid Facebook memes, or a clickbait headline. They think Trump voters, or even Bernie voters for that matter, could never hold the positions that they have without getting duped into them. And thus, if we're bombarded with their propaganda, we're going to change our lying ways. The opposite is true.
Yes, very astute, Sagar.
Yeah, we have talked about this before, which is the that class of people that say, I don't know how he won because I don't know any person that voted for him.
Not a single
so
one.
He couldn't have won.
There's no way. It doesn't make any sense. I have a couple of clips from Joe. And the reason I pulled them is it was an interview with Trevor Noah of the Tonight Show Lockdown Edition. Tonight Show, the Daily Show Lockdown. And it was 9 minutes long. And knowing from your research that Joe is coherent in the first 10 minutes, I figured, let's have a listen. And he was coherent. Now, is he saying anything that a presidential nominee that would give him an edge? I don't think so. But this, of course, was mainly about Black Lives Matter. And Joe is on message as usual. Trevor Noah will set it up.
I want to talk a little bit about the op-ed that you put out today. Talk me through how you would plan to undo systemic oppression, how you would plan to undo systemic racism, and how you think you'll address the needs of the African-American community.
Well, first of all, it's going to take time. Donald Trump didn't invent racism, but he sure has promoted it. And it's systemic has been real. The disparities in the country, especially in the economy right now, the combination, there's just an awful combination. COVID-19, unemployment, systemic racism.
What you'll hear, systemic racism, what you'll hear is a politician who was running to be president who has zero solutions. He can identify the problems. He has zero solutions. And the solutions that he has, he doesn't even realize what he's saying is really inadequate. He wrote an op-ed, and of course, no one actually wants to defund the police of the people in power because they need them to protect them. So there's never going to be a complete defunding of police. They want to be
protected.
They want to be protected. Yes.
So somebody has to protect those left-wing tech moguls that live in Hillsborough. And Atherton.
So Biden, of course, looks at it more as reform, which is how adults pronounce the word defund.
You have come out in favor of police reform, but what does that actually mean? Because some people think that you cannot reform an institution that is fundamentally rotten in the core.
Well, I don't think it's rotten in the core, and I don't think all cops are bad cops. But I think, 90% of all the funding for police comes from local taxpayers. So
now, listen to what he's saying. 90% of everything that funds the police comes from local taxpayers. I think that's probably true, 90%. And in fact, that's what the defund movement is about. How can we be spending so much on policing? How is this possible? 90% comes from local sources, not the federal government. 90%
of all the funding for police comes from local taxpayers. So the federal government under our system cannot, other than taking a civil rights action, say they do A, B, C, and D. But what we can do is we can make sure that we insist on certain fundamental changes take place now, including making sure there's sensitivity training, making sure that all of cops.
Hello, the 1960s called.
Yeah, they want their sensitivity training back, Joe. That's not going to fly.
That all of cops past grievances, transgressions.
Oh, the truth wants to come out. All the cops past grievances. I mean transgressions. Get your words straight, Joe.
That all of cops' past grievances,
believe me, they've got grievances too.
Transgressions are all made public, because we can say, if you don't, we are not going to provide the federal funding that we provide for you through what they call burn grants and cop grants.
So here's the big man, Joe Biden, who just got through telling us that 90% of all police force funding is local from state taxes. But you know what? I'm going to stop the cop grants. Do you know what cop grants are? Look it up. Cop grants are specific grants for things like sensitivity training, you numbskull.
And so we can, I think, now impact on significantly the desire of many police departments as well to fundamentally change the way they police.
Bullcrap. So he's saying, oh, no, we'll get rid of 10%. Yeah, the 10% that's actually probably good that is federal money. And Noah is not having it, and he's pushing further, Trevor Noah.
Joy, you're a former.
Here we go.
Some would say to you, Mr. Vice President, if you were to become president, do you think that there would be a world where defunding the police would be the solution and getting some of these responsibilities away from police forces? You know, police in schools, police handling mental illness, police handling homelessness, etc.
Well, I think there are a lot of changes they can take place, period, without having to defund.
By the way, when I hear this, exactly this, homelessness meant this is if Joe Biden wins, or even if the Democrats can win the Senate, anything's possible, then you're going to see an expansion of services like you've never seen before. We will have NGOs, there goes all the money, and they're all going to have their clients. And clients, you don't fire clients. You don't say, hey, you're now an ex-client because I solved your problems. No, you want to grow the base, bring in more clients. This has not worked. Let's put it that way.
I think there are a lot of changes they can take place, period, without having to defund police completely. Here's what I think's happened. You have well over 80% of the American people going, whoa, I didn't know this. I didn't know this was happening. I don't believe.
Where's this number come from?
Well, it's 80%. It's just the science is in. Shut up. Do you have a question about Joe? Because we'll send the Antifa goons on you. Don't question it. But apparently 80% of the American people had no idea this was going on. We have not been traumatized for the past 25 to 30 years, really since the Rodney King in 1992. That's how long we've been seeing this.
It's been pounded and hounded.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this was happening. I don't believe peace should be defunded, but I think the conditions should be placed upon them where departments are having to take significant reforms relating to we should set up a national use of force standard. If they don't sign on to it, then in fact they don't get any of the federal money. In addition, that they have to demonstrate that they release all the data that relates to misconduct by police.
Repeating himself.
That all has to be sent to the Justice Department. If they don't send it to the Justice Department nationally, they don't get funding. But as it relates to, for example, mental illness and homelessness and drug abuse and the like, many changes we can make.
You see, it's like all he wants is to have more programs. I'm sure the cops don't want to deal with mental illness. It's it's very trying.
Sure they don't. Who the hell needs that?
Yeah. So I don't think Joe has anything good there. He just didn't say anything.
No, he didn't say anything worth a shit.
And he was awake and he was active, and the Adderall, whatever he's taken, was going. It was 9 minutes. But just nothing really came out of it. Unlike Joy Behar, who was also at home in her basement for The View, and she was asked to give her view about defunding, because of course you know that she was a former school teacher. Did you know this?
No, I didn't.
Well, apparently she was, or let's see, Whoopi will set it up for us.
Joy, you're a formula English teacher.
No, she's a formula English teacher. I thought she was a formula.
Joy, you're a formula English teacher. What does defund mean to you here?
Goldberg is drunk.
Do you think she's drunk?
Well, they're at home, bored. They're not in the studio. There's nobody telling them, hey, sober up.
Let's listen to it again.
Joy, you're a formula English.
You're right. Drunk or not drunk.
Teacher, what does defund mean to you here?
Well, Sonny said basically everything that needs to be said about it, because the real word should be reform. But of course, defund sounds very scary, and people say, oh, they're going to eliminate the police department. Of course, that is ridiculous on its face. No one's eliminating a department that protects people. If I'm getting mugged, I certainly want the police to come to my aid.
Oh, privilege, white privilege, redhead, white privilege. You want the police to come. You're not black. You don't know what it's like, white privilege.
So let's just pretend. It annoys me when they weaponize a term. So that's why you're saying I'm an English teacher.
Stop the clip. Has she ever seen these protests where the printed signage says abolish the police?
No.
Has she read any of the documents that the Antifa in particular put out where it says we want to defund then abolish the police? Does she know any of this? No. I've got this at the dinner table the other night. It's like the abolish the police side of the argument is completely ignored. And by the way,
it has to be ignored.
Yeah, it has to be ignored.
You find
but it's there.
Yeah, you find what you were going to say, by the way?
I find that you had a comment about some people that you know some time ago that you said they're not radicalized.
They're idiots.
They're just idiots.
No, it's the children. The children aren't radicalized. They're just idiots. Yes.
And I found this to be the case with some debate over the last few days. And it was like,
John, what's
the point?
I feel your pain. That's exactly right. What is the point? And here she is doing exactly what the underinformed, over-socialized children are saying that she shouldn't do, which is act out of privilege, saying, well, if I'm getting mugged, I want the police to show up.
That's why you're saying I'm an English teacher. Like, for instance, the term Black Lives Matter. I'm interested in that because for certain people I know say, well, all lives matter.
Oh, are these your racist a-hole friends, Joy Behar? Certain people you know? Do they say all lives matter? You should be ashamed. You should disassociate from them. Shame.
In that because for certain people I know say, well, all lives matter. And the explanation that someone gave, which I think is brilliant, is the house is on fire on this block. Okay, this house is on fire. These other houses are also not on fire. So yes, these houses matter, but this is the house that's on fire right now.
Wow, the analogy queen strikes again.
And I think that, people just take the words and distort them. Even the so-called pro-life movement. Pro-lifers generally are happy to be pro-life until the person is born, and then they drop social programs and they continue to not be pro-life. So they call it pro-life, but it's really anti-abortion. Well, then say it like that.
Okay. Then, Joy, I'm sure you're going on to say that people who are pro-choice are actually pro-abortion. Shouldn't you just say it like that, Joy Behar?
Well, actually, the old words was pro-abortion, and the old words that the pro-choice was abortionist. They're abortionists.
But
it's like it's abortionism.
But does she not? Well, of course she doesn't. But someone surely sees the irony of her literally saying, "You a-holes, don't say pro-life. Just say you're anti-abortion. It's more fair." Well, could you say, instead of saying pro-choice, say pro-abortion or abortionist? No.
She can't. No.
It's
Joy Behar.
No.
Yeah, and as Sonny.
I think she actually catches her idiocy here if you listen to it.
They call it pro-life, but it's really anti-abortion. Well, then say it like that.
Oh shit! I think she just realized there. Crap! Oh, that was kind of dumb. Okay,
say
keep
it
going.
Like that.
Idiot.
As Sonny points out, Biden and Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats, they just want to get rid of chokeholds, which sounds so inhuman to me. And also, if you're going to barge into people's houses, knock on the door first. Every police show I've ever seen, they knock and they say police, and then they go in.
Oh yes, Joy. And in those police series, they just knock, they go in, and then they're shot at. And whenever they shoot, immediately it's over. Someone's arrested. It always ends well on the police shows you watch. Joy, that is not real. That is not real, Joy.
That's a show.
It's a show.
It's a drama.
I don't know if you were talking about Cops, but that was canceled. Yeah, these are all shows, darling. It's entertainment. Dick Wolf. Okay, I think doesn't Dick Wolf work for ABC? Just have a sit-down meeting with him.
Dick Wolf was the NBC. He ran the NBC stuff, and then he moved to CBS. He's doing stuff in CBS now.
But this is
Chicago. He's doing Chicago PD.
Right. Well, this just shows you. I don't know what it shows you. I don't even know why we're playing it. But
it shows you that Joy Behar is an idiot. We shouldn't play her clips.
30 more seconds.
Every police show I've ever seen, they knock and they say police, and then they go in. Why is it that certain states allow police to go into the house without warning them that they're there? Right. And they need a national database.
Well, that's because they have strict gun laws in those states. And it's not a problem if the cops show up because they're not expecting a gun on the other side, typically. That's the answer I have for you now. I'll look into it.
Police to go into the house without warning them that they're there. Right. And they need a national database for tracking police misconduct, because they keep sending them.
Here, the talking point, the database. And while you're at it, Joy, why don't you just tell Christians they're idiots?
National database for tracking police misconduct, because they keep sending them from one precinct to another. It reminds me again of the Catholic Church and the scandal there, where a certain rogue priest is an abuser, and instead of kicking him out and sending him to jail, they send him to the next parish. These things are all systemic and need to be changed.
Oh, there it is. That's systemic. Now I get it. So the church is systemic abusers. Yeah. You should do a topic on that, Joy, and say it, don't hide it like you say it. The church is systemic abusers, which is not true of the whole church, but you can go ahead and say it. This woman, I just need to undress that idiot.
You're never going to get anywhere.
Nah, you're right. What am I thinking? Of course not.
I have a couple things here I want to get out of the way before I take a second break, which is we got this. There was this funny stolen call of the Chicago alderman.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard this?
Yeah, when he's talking to the mayor? Yes.
Yeah, and they're cussing each other out. Unfortunately, I don't have the real copy. I have the bleeped copy.
Oh, I have the real copy. I have it.
You have the copy with the unbleeps?
Yeah, I have the clip.
Okay, play that clip.
Yeah, hold on. Alderman. I had it for the last show. And it's an hour long, the whole thing. This is just a segment of it. So
they want the segment where they're cussing at each other.
That's the one I've got. So an alderman in Chicago, as I understand.
Lopez.
Well, but what is an alderman? Let's explain this to people. Is it like a person who is in charge, kind of like an elected official of a bureau?
The city is well, it's not boroughs. Boroughs are whole incorporations.
So it's blocks, city blocks or something?
It's not blocks. It's more like supervisors within San Francisco. They have an area. I guess it is blocks. It's kind of an area of blocks. And there's like 50 of them in Chicago. And every alderman, he's like the local guy who gets things done for his little area. They need to fix some potholes. They need to grease some skids for some guy and get his license. It's just part of a very elaborate system. And some of the aldermen in Chicago don't like this woman, Lightfoot, who somebody called, what's the name of that? Oh, I can't think. They had a nickname for her. I just thought it was very offensive and accurate.
But you forgot.
But anyway, so the one alderman is really who runs for mayor all the time, and he gets on her case, and she never pays attention to him, and so they get into a cussing fest with each other. And actually, Mike, you should. Why don't you play? Well, actually, why don't you play mine, because it takes the cussing out and it has a bonus.
No, come on, this is good. You want the cussing. You want the cussing. It's a part of life.
We can't expect our police, and I don't fault them at all, to be able to control this. But I know that we asked our faith base yesterday to stand as the front line between police and looters and rioters. And I'm simply not comfortable telling my churches, those people, to be the intermediary in the middle of a riot that's citywide. We need something better, because right now we only have 370 whatever National Guards on standby. Half our neighborhoods are already obliterated. It's too late. We know that people are here to antagonize and incite, and you've got them all pumped today. They're not going to go to bed at 8 o'clock. They're going to turn their focus in the neighborhoods. I've got gangbangers with AK-47s walking around right now, just waiting to settle some scores. What are we going to do, and what do we tell our residents other than good faith people stand up? It's not going to be enough.
Thank you, Alderman. Next question.
Well, no, I want an answer. You commented on everybody. I want an answer. It's not something you ignore. This is a question that I have.
I think you're 100% full of shit, is what I think. If you think
no offense, well, fuck you then. Who are you to tell me I'm full of shit?
If you think we were not ready and we stood by and let the neighborhood go up, there's nothing intelligent that I can say to you.
Well, maybe you should come out and see what's going on.
It's the stupidest thing I have ever heard. I understand you want supreme. I understand that you think that you...
Mayor, you need to check your fucking attitude. That's what you need to do. Right now, no. You need to check your attitude.
This guy actually sounds like a pretty cool dude. He's like, hey, man, this is messed up what we got going on. And I love when the real Chicago accent comes out. You attitude. Can't even do it.
Well, it's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Well, mine's clearer, and I do have it beeped out, but I think you should play my clip.
Okay.
It's because this is actually taken from Fox, so it has commentary.
All right. Well, what's the name of this clip?
That's a good question. Now that you mention it.
It must be in here. I hope. Did you even have it?
Mayor. No, it's not it.
Oh, here it is. Stolen Chicago call. I got it.
This was a conference call on Sunday, May 31st, to talk about Chicago's response to the widespread looting. On the call were Mayor Lori Lightfoot and all 50 Chicago aldermen and alderwomen, including Alderman Raymond Lopez, one of the mayor's harshest critics. Now, for context, on the day of the conference call, Chicago had 699 arrests, mostly looters. 132 officers were injured.
Oh, yeah. This is great. This is how Fox News would do it. That's exactly right. Look at all the crap that was going down. It was horrible.
There were 48 shootings, 17 homicides, and Alderman Lopez
17
accused the mayor of being underprepared as the looting spread, saying his ward had become a virtual...
Based on her response, do you think that she really just does she really not believe that there are murders taking place in her city? Does she not get a report? Does she really not know?
I have no idea what she's thinking.
War
Chicago is a total mess. You can't have 17 homicides during this thing. Nobody even talks about that in the mainstream media.
Dude, 17 homicides in Chicago is Saturday afternoon.
No, I understand that, but it's not. Actually, 17 is not Saturday afternoon. It's usually maybe 9 over a weekend. But to have 17 at one event is pretty high.
Yes.
Looting spread, saying his ward had become a virtual war zone. Listen.
Half our neighborhoods are already obliterated. It's too late. We have to come up with a better plan, because my fear is once they're done looting and rioting and whatever's going to happen tonight, what happens when they start going after residents, going into the neighborhoods? Once they start trying to break down people's doors who they think they got something, we know that people are here to antagonize and incite, and you've got them all pumped today. They're not going to go to bed at 8 o'clock. They're going to turn their focus in the neighborhoods. I've got gangbangers with AK-47s walking around right now, just waiting to settle some scores.
And the alderman wasn't exaggerating. In his ward, 2 Walgreens were burned down, along with restaurant shops and an entire strip mall. But when Lopez finished speaking, Mayor Lightfoot refused to respond. So Alderman Lopez demanded that she respond. Finally, she did. Watch.
I think you're 100% full of what I think. If you think
no offense, you then.
Hold on.
Who are you to tell me I'm full of
And if you think we were not ready and we stood by and let the neighborhood go up, there's nothing intelligent that I can say to you.
Well, maybe you should come out and see what's going on.
One of the stupidest things I have ever heard. I understand you want to preen. I understand that you think that you...
Mayor, you need to check your attitude. That's what you need to do.
And the other alderman jumped in to calm things down, but Alderman Lopez and the mayor weren't the only ones trading profanities. Another alderwoman was heard saying this is a total blank show. And the mayor added that she'd never seen blank like this before. One alderman finally spoke up, saying many people in the city were listening to the call, including children.
Got to catch them!
Think of the children. Won't somebody please think of the children?
Okay, I'm sorry. You need to give me a clearer signal if you have editing work. I didn't realize. I'm sorry. I didn't know you had done something to it. Well worth it.
Now the other one I got Stacey Abrams on Colbert.
Oh, good. Is she still not going to be the vice presidential nominee?
Well,
or
now that you mention that, we might as well play the 1 minute Stacey Abrams supercut where she says she's not going to do it, and then she's going to do it, and then she's not going to do it, she's not going to do it, she's going to do it. Supercut.
Okay.
Now they're talking about you being on the ticket with Joe Biden. He hasn't even declared yet. What do you think about that?
I think you don't run for second place. She did, however, reveal in the New York Times that she'd be honored to be considered for vice president by any nominee.
This is an unusual position to be in, for someone to be considered possibly the next vice president. Of course I want it.
But if the vice president were to call, you'd answer the phone.
I would absolutely answer the phone, and I would be happy to serve as a running mate.
And for all those reasons, you maintain that you would be an excellent candidate?
I think absolutely. This is a question of competency, of skills.
I think Vice President Biden is going to make a smart choice. I would share your concern about not picking a woman of color.
Stacey Abrams, former Georgia lawmaker, unsuccessful candidate for governor, has been privately calling Democratic power brokers, asking them to tell Biden campaign officials that she should be the vice president.
Joe Biden needs a vice presidential running mate.
I have said many times that if called, I will answer, but I have not received any calls.
Well, I still think
she doesn't understand the Democratic Party. It's next man up, and she's not the next man up.
No, but she feels entitled to it. That's
no.
Pretty evident.
She's going to be a problem down the road because she does feel entitled. She's got something wrong with her.
You need to
let's listen to.
You need to use the word problematic.
She's problematic, this woman. So here's Colbert and Abrams clip 1.
Protesting continues nationwide right now. As an activist, does this moment feel any different to you?
It does. I participated in the demonstrations and protests after the Rodney King verdict in 1992. I was a college freshman. I helped organize marches. I got into a fight with the mayor of Atlanta declaring that his administration wasn't doing enough for poor black kids and poor black young people in the city. But those demonstrations ended. And after a few months after a few days of demonstration, after a few months of conversation, we went back to the way things were. But the fact that we have had more than 13 days of sustained engagement, we see multi-generational, multi-racial, multi-ethnic people standing up and declaring action. And going back to the point of voting, we see elected officials actually declaring and taking steps, concrete steps to make things right. That feels very different. But I think we also have to remember that we have a coward in the White House who has shown us what he intends to do if he stays, and he's been suborned by a group of moral cowards in the U.S. Senate who are allowing him to get away with his behavior. And I think that urgency is also sitting with demonstrators.
Oh, she'll be a fantastic vice president. Can't wait.
Oh, yeah. Name caller.
Yeah, it can be fab.
So here's where he brings in the vice president. And he has a funny way of asking one of the questions that I think if you'll hear it when you hear it, and it's like, I wonder why he did that, but here we go.
We know that we have to take action. In years past, we could possibly excuse those who are in charge saying, well, they're not that bad. There is nothing worse that we have in office than what we have today.
Speaking of defeating the people in the White House right now, Joe Biden needs a vice presidential running mate. April Ryan says you're being vetted. Is that true, or are you calling April Ryan a liar?
I have said many times that if called, I will answer, but I have not received any calls. So I look forward to hearing from whomever April Ryan is speaking to.
And a lot of times vice presidential possible running mates demur when they're asked the question. You don't. You're like, sure, I would like to do that. Why do you not demur as people do in the past?
Because I know that when I'm asked the question, are you qualified? Can you do this? Then I'm not just answering for myself. I'm being asked this question because I don't look like what people usually look like when they're considered for these jobs.
Really?
And I've learned over the course of my life, starting out as a young black girl in Mississippi, that if you don't speak up for yourself, then people will take that as permission to underestimate you. But more importantly, it gives them permission to underestimate everyone who looks like you, everyone who reminds them of you. So for every young woman, every young girl, every person of color who has been told not to dream, my responsibility is not only to dream, but to say it aloud.
Who's telling anyone not to dream? First off, did you listen to that whole answer? She says, when I'm asked if I'm qualified, and then she throws out the race card.
Yep.
She never says that she's qualified. That is a crazy, crazy clip.
Well, in fact, what she said is she is uniquely qualified according to her rules.
Her color.
And what she...
And every black girl and every black boy who's told not to dream, who's going around telling people not to dream?
Oh, we all know the answer to that.
Don't dream, dumb shit. Give me a break. This is a lie.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab.
Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
I wonder if the incognito still listens to our show.
Oh, I hope so.
I doubt it. He was told not to dream, so I won't listen to the show. Kyle Beaver, $150. Sir Dirt Farmer comes in from Illinois, 12345. Sir Ho-Ji Hung, Baron of Ancient City, 12280.
And he has a birthday/flag day donation. So that's 2 times 6140. One for the president, one for a night. Apologies for the light donation. So we're happy with it. Personal protection equipment of the metal flavor is spiking in price, lady. Oh, I guess he's talking about she's strapping. He's got his own PPE.
Melissa Lubenow, $100. Birthday donation for Smoking Hot Husband.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Daddy Cast in Richmond, Virginia, the Daddy Cast. Double Karen's on a dime, 9810.
Thanks.
Baron Mark Tanner, as usual, 7654 from Whittier. Just plain Inga in Monroe, Washington, 69. Steve Shevlin.
Can I just stop for 1 second? Inga is interesting. Billy Bones, you know Billy Bones, right? Billy Bones.
Billy Bones. Yeah, we got into a beef with him.
We did?
Yeah, well, his mail was lost.
Oh, that's right. Well, this is, she's related. Hello, I used to be so annoyed by your show when Billy Bones, my hunk of burnin' love fiance Alex, hit me in the mouth. Since COVID, I've been addicted to shrinking my amygdala. Please accept this donation. Alex is de-douching. Okay, so we'll do that.
You've been de-douched.
Billy Bones called him a douchebag, and I can't stand for that. Not from Billy. Alex has been listening for a long time, so he's in fact a douchebag, but I can say that. We have been paying off debt, cash flowing a wedding, and very essential. So he deserves it. Please play Love You Mean It Orange Milk. Okay, well, there's too many jingles here. Karma for his co-workers who sent to help our wedding in September. Thank you, fine gentlemen. I now love the show, says Inga Monroe. Inga in Monroe, Washington, and Karma at the end for that. Thank you, Inga. And we love Billy Bones.
Steve Shevlin in Southampton, Massachusetts, 6114. He has a funny line. The devil's greatest trick is getting people to burn down their own houses, jobs, school, and church. Some people never learn.
That devil, I tell you.
Sir not appearing on the podcast in Richland, Washington, 5678. Jason Madruga in Eureka, California, 5555. Baron Bob of the High Point in High Point, North Carolina, 5532. He needs some F cancer.
Mm-hmm. We'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it.
For he's getting surgery.
Well, let's do it right now then. Yeah, we're doing it right now for that.
You've got karma.
Definitely want to do that now.
Ivar van de Velde in Vinging, Netherlands, 5510.
Ivar van der Velde in
Ivar van de
Velde.
Velde.
In Wageningen.
Marcus Miller in Sugarland, Texas. That was 5510 from Ivar. 5510 from Marcus. Michael Golian, 5469, Rockford, Illinois. Jesus Martinez in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 5151.
And he says, rediscovered both y'all from Adam's Joe Rogan experience. Used to watch MTV and Twit. The information you guys provide is both amazing and entertaining. And he would appreciate a de-douching and jobs karma, which is coming up, you betcha.
You've been de-douched.
He and his tantalizing girlfriend Deb are venturing into new business, and they will need all they can get. Yes, so we got that special karma coming up for you, Jesus.
Brian Burgess in Pelican Rapids, Minnesota, Nuts, 5033. Thomas Pompey, 5009. Now, the following people are $50 donors, name and location. We'll run right through them, starting with John Boland with a birthday coming up in Brockport, New York, 50. Sir Labrat of the Hill Country in Universal City, Texas. Dorian Ald in Akron, Ohio, with another birthday. Dame Patricia Worthington in Miami, Florida. Kimberly Alley in Allen, Texas. David Christofferson in Carmel, Indiana. Tim Hiller in parts unknown. Michael Burlett in Odessa, Florida. Long note here from Peter Melancelli in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Has got a birthday and a bunch of...
Yeah, I'll do it. Keep going. I'll pick it up.
Okay. Yeah. Robert Kerbach in Essexville, Michigan, and last but not least, Brandon Savoy, Sir Brandon in Port Orchard, Washington. I want to thank all these folks for their contributions in helping produce show 1251.
And Kimberly Alley in Allen, Texas, has been listening nearly 2 years. It's her first donation. She's ashamed, she says, which you don't have to be, and needs a major de-douche, you betcha.
You've been de-douched.
And I love the new people saying, hey, any consideration to adding a third show to the week? Remember, we used to be asked that a lot?
Well, we were promising it a lot. That's why people were expecting it. And we decided... Well, actually, by the way, I want to mention Jeffrey, Michael, and Joseph for maybe doing a Karen donation. We were using it as a promise. We're going to do three shows. That's when the show was like 2 hours. And then we decided to drop it because the show was getting too long.
Yeah.
And then we did a third show once.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the timing or anything. The news cycle.
Well, it doesn't work for the timing, and it makes us tired.
Starts to look like work when you do it 3 times a week.
Because you got to do it on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Yeah, it doesn't
would be
work.
The days.
Yeah.
And so you never get that extra day off. It's just a horrible...
it's a tough...
You don't get any... You can't catch your breath. You can't do anything. It's horrible.
It hurt the product as far as I was concerned. We just hurt the product. It wasn't 3... I'd rather have 2 outstanding products than 3 mediocre. Peter Melancelli in Edmonton, Alberta, longtime listener, first-time donor as well. Your show gives me a regular dose of sanity, keeps my amygdala in good health. Find my attached donation. That's a Scandinavian bucks. This is interesting. If he sent in 220 Scandinavian bucks, why is he listed as 50? I just noticed this.
Where is this?
Line 41. That's interesting.
Find attached my donation of 220 Canadian. I have no idea.
I'm going to treat him
He's going to have to clarify this, and we have to figure out why it's under 50, because $200 is
associate executive producer territory. But why the 50? That's very odd. Let me see. Was there a Peter up
We'll
top?
fix it later. We can fix it later. I don't know why it's 50.
Okay, it's all right. We'll fix it later, and if we don't fix it later, we'll fix it.
Came in as 50. Go check your provider.
We'll check. Yeah, check your provider. Exactly. No worries. We'll figure it out. We're good for it, and I'm sure you are as well. Thank you to everybody who came in under $50. That is typically for anonymity. If people do like to be anonymous, that's just under 50. We'll never mention your name. Can never mess it up. No problems whatsoever. But it's also where people join our subscriptions, and that is something that is sustaining and helpful, and we'd appreciate it if you take a look at that. All of that and more, and any way for you to support the best podcast in the universe is available at our handy website, which you can remember through this even so handy jingle.
Dvorak.org/NA.
The Karmas as requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It is the 14th of June. It's 2020. We have a number of birthdays to celebrate today. Laura Moreno starts off saying happy birthday to her boyfriend Mateo. It's his birthday today. Sir Nick Foster turns 25 today. Nathaniel Wirgao says happy birthday to his amazing wife Sue. She turns, we don't know, it's her birthday today. Also June 14th. Randy Holcomb turns the big 50. Sees Abram today. Sir Ho Ji Hung also celebrating today, June 14th. Melissa Lubinow says happy birthday in advance to her smoking hot husband Christoph, who'll be 36 on the 16th. John Bollins says happy birthday to Johnny B. Dorian Ald, happy birthday to Adam De Nicola on tomorrow. Peter Meloncelli, happy birthday to his daughter Andromeda Romy Meloncelli. She turned 9 on the 12th. Happy birthday. And finally, Jennifer Oakley says happy birthday to her smoking hot husband Matthew Oakley, celebrating on June 17th. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't wanna be a douchebag.
That's right. Title change, only one, but an important one. That is Sir Nick Foster, who becomes a baron today by upping another $1,000. Nick, thank you so much. And I don't know if you have a barony selected, but just let us know. We'll gladly put that on the peerage map for you. Then we have two knights, Aaron Berman, Randy Holcomb. I'm going to grab my blade right there. Do you have yours handy?
Yo.
Yo. Aaron Berman, Randy Holcomb, step on up, gentlemen. Both of you are about to become knights of the No Agenda Round Table. You see here we've got the knights and dames at the coveted round table. All the goodies are splayed out there, and I'm very proud to pronounce the case the Sir Aaron Berman and Sir Randy Holcomb, Knight of the AS400 for you gentlemen, hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay. We've got, waifus and waffles. We've got fish pie and fellatio, brown cheese and aquavit and small hova. We've got harlots and haldol, redheads and rye, Brazilian hotties and chachaka. We've got Rubenesque women and rosé, geishas and sake, vodka and vanilla, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, ginger ale and gerbils, and of course we have mutton and meat. That's what everybody wants. You got an explanation. It's old stinky sheep, but boy do we love it at the round table, along with mead, which is bubbly champagne-y stuff. And if you go to noagendanation.com/rings, Eric the Shill will hand out to you the ring, the sealing wax, and your certificate as soon as you get the information. And thank you again for supporting the show. It's very important. And we know we all produce this together. The best podcast in the universe, No Agenda, noagendashow.com.
No Agenda Meetups.
Just like a party, the No Agenda Meetups are back in full force. Please, everybody, don't back channel me. Hey, man, I got this on the calendar for 3 weeks from now. Promote it today. That's not how it works. We have an entire system. And it took a while to set it up. And we have approvals, and I'm very proud of the work that has been done on noagendameetups.com. So I'm not going to take back channels. We read the list as it comes from the back office in the northwestern part of the United States of America. It's an undisclosed location. And here is the list. It's a good one. I'm going to do the next couple of weeks. June 17th, that's Wednesday. City Park Sit-In, that is in Denver. The Western Plaza, Taylor and June organizing for you. On Friday, Oregon Local 33, the Will Lamb Meetup, 6 o'clock. Tim organizing for you. Rain or shine at Willamette Park, West Lynn, Oregon. On Friday, the Charlotte Meetup. This is the fourth one for them, 7 o'clock at Sycamore Brewing. Bill Cameron is organizing. Sorry, Bill. Then we have June 20th. We have, how many do we have on June 20th? My goodness, 8. 8 of them. In quick six. Now, the 20th is Saturday, so here's what we got coming up in fast succession. Motorcycle ride up in Truckee, California at 12. That is at the Fast Lane gas station in Truckee. Supercast Low Country Meetup at the Taco Boy downtown at 1 o'clock. That is in North Carolina, I guess. Dame Jennifer Buchanan hosting for that. The West Texas Permain Basin Meetup, Midland, 2 o'clock at Little Woodrow's Midland, Texas. Sir Michael of Calgary and Vegas doing that for you. We have the Local 406 Re-Up and Damehood Celebration, 3 p.m. at the Bayern Brewery. Alan Murray hosting for you. We have the second ever Central Chilinoisian Meetup, 3:33 on Saturday. That will be at the Riggs Brewery in Urbana, Illinois. The Flight 004 of the No Agenda, new location, 3:33 p.m. on Saturday. Long Beach, Leo Bravo organizing meet at the Steelcraft. First Western New York Meetup, 4 o'clock at Battle Street Brewery in Dansville, New York. RSVP to Anthony Parker. It's all on noagendameetups.com. And finally, for Saturday, the No Agenda 3 Mile Island Evac Zone Meetup, 3 to 4 p.m., I guess. And that will be at a private location near Lewisberry, Pennsylvania. So you have to RSVP to Sir 737. And next Sunday, June 21st, Bisbee, Arizona, first time No Agenda Meetup, 3:33 p.m. Joe's Consignment, Sean and Joe Eddington are hosting for you. This is where you can get together with people who have their amygdalas in check. They're from all over the spectrum, different race, religion, background, creed, education. You'll love it. I guarantee it. NoAgendaMeetups.com. Go there now. Find out more.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You want to be where everybody feels the same.
Like a party.
It's like a party.
It's just like a party. Oh, nice fade out.
Got a couple things.
Okay.
The Seattle situation is getting funnier.
Oh, this is the Chaz,
Chaz
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. We had, now you wrote it in the newsletter. We had
we got a guy there,
boots on the ground, and it's basically
it's Amazon people.
Yeah, it's Amazon people having burgers and listening to music and writing on the wall with chalk.
Yeah. So. And there's a rumor going around, which everyone that came up to the dinner table, and this, of course, nobody could confirm it. I couldn't get any picture. Oh yeah, there's lots of evidence. Come on, show me some evidence. I couldn't get any. That the cops in the at the Eastern Precinct building that they boarded up had actually put inside the building a bunch of pallets and cans of gasoline and kerosene. So you catch the whole block on fire.
Nice.
But all the protesters saw this. They all saw and said, "This is a setup. We won't do it. We won't be used." So, but then again, no one could prove this, and I don't know that they even got in there to take pictures. This sounds like bull crap. But the Seattle police chief was irked, and so she comes out and sends a private message to her troopers, and then and she's really sorry. She always looks like she just doesn't look the part of a police. She's just sad all the time. She looks like she's going to cry.
She is sad because she was told to abandon ship. She couldn't believe that she had to abandon ship.
Yeah, well, here she is, Seattle police chief telling her troops and knowing that this is going to get out and irk the mayor.
The decision to board up the precinct, our home, the first precinct I worked in, was something I have been holding off. You should know, leaving the precinct was not my decision. You fought for days to protect it. I asked you to stand on that line, day in and day out, to be pelted with projectiles, to be screamed at, threatened, and in some cases hurt. Then to have a change of course nearly 2 weeks in, it seems like an insult to you and our community. Ultimately, the city had other plans for the building and relented to severe public pressure.
Yeah. Are you sure that that was secretly recorded? I've seen that. I've seen it around.
It was. She knew it was going to get out. She did it on purpose. Meanwhile, the mayor and her they did a press conference later, and they talked about a little bit like the mayor kind of ignored it. And the mayor comes out. The mayor of Seattle comes out, who's really she's a classic old progressive, shithead. And she thinks this is great, and the Chaz is fine, and what's the big deal? And they're taking this very lackadaisical approach to law and order. It's like, it's okay. This is fine. It's a tradition. She's pretty much, she says. So here's her
crazy.
Her discussion. Mayor of Seattle.
Oh, that's the one I've been looking at all day. Yeah.
I will continue to meet with community to listen.
Stop the tape. What is this thing? And you notice this with all the Democrats. They did it. Hillary did it in 2016, and now I'm hearing it a lot. And Joe says it all the time. I'm going to listen. And then Hillary if you remember, she went on a listening tour.
Yeah.
A tour.
Yes.
Where she went to listen.
Yes.
What is this? Isn't that what kind of part of your job? It's not like something you'd explicitly take out of context and say, well, now instead of doing what I normally do, I'm going to listen. Well, you haven't been listening?
No,
is that what you're saying? You're saying you haven't been listening.
I think that's pretty clear what they're saying. It's like, we haven't been listening at all, but now we're going to listen. So now it's going. Now it's finally going.
I'm sorry. Start it over so we get back in the groove.
I will continue to meet with community to listen. My focus as mayor will remain on how we work to make Seattle a model for addressing the inequities that the pandemic and these last 2 weeks have made impossible to deny. Cal Anderson Park and Capitol Hill have been for decades a place for free speech and community. I've been going to Capitol Hill for almost 50 years and have demonstrated, hung out, and been with community many, many times. I just want to say, I know there's the acronym that is now the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. I got news for people. It's been autonomous my whole lifetime. And anybody who knows and loves Capitol Hill knows that to be true. I want to make clear that for myself and for the city and for Chief Best, the First Amendment rights of residents must be protected and protesters must feel safe when they express their First Amendment rights. Over the past few days, we've had peaceful demonstrations across the city. We had an amazing demonstration in Rainier Beach and Othello, where thousands turned out. We expect additional marches and a strike tomorrow led by Black Lives Matter. Chief Best, Chief Scoggins, the Seattle Department of Transportation Director, our Director of Office of Economic Development, and the Director of Seattle Public Utilities have been on site on Capitol Hill since 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, making sure the community is safe, talking to protesters, talking to residents, and coming up with a plan for Capitol Hill going forward.
So how do you categorize that whole spiel she just did there?
She is an old-fashioned progressive, which are the people on the outs, because it's the millennials and the youngers that are pushing them out. And she is a target, and she's going to get kicked out of office because she's not doing it right. I don't know what right means.
But I don't know but this ain't it.
That ain't it. Whatever she's doing is not it. And so she's kind of knuckled under. And the protesters, they want to do a general strike, a kind of a strike or some quasi-general strike in Seattle. And she's okay. We're behind you all the way.
Yeah, right.
So instead of bucking the protesters, she's whatever they say goes. And it's irking a lot of the public. It's not irking the people in the Capitol Hill district because they get this little party zone going on, so they're having a pretty good time of it. And it's not like Capitol Hill, this area used to be the most gay of Seattle. It was the gay area, it was the LGBTQ area. And now it's an Amazon area because all the gays got gentrified in terms of the people moving in.
Just to know, everybody, I want to know all the gays got gentrified.
They got moved out.
I love you, John.
Well, it's actually the funnier part, of course, if you want to go in that direction and ridicule me.
No, I'm not ridiculing you. I'm protecting
the gay
you.
community is usually the one that gentrifies.
Of course. No, we know the fallacy of it all. I'm just laughing. I'm not ridiculing.
And so they got booted, pretty much kicked out for the Amazon folks because Amazon will pay more because they got more money. And so it's like a very twisted situation in this Chaz.
Well, also the
Capitol Hill.
What's his face? Raz, the so-called warlord leader or whatever.
Oh yeah, now this guy, right?
He's going down.
Needs to be accounted for.
Yeah, but he's going down because where do I have it? I had it in here. I believe that someone found some tweets where he was homophobic from years ago, using the F word. So he's toast as far as I'm concerned.
He's done. Yeah,
let me see where I can. Oh, here it is. I got the article. Chaz. What is his name? Raz Simone. Yes, Raz Simone.
Raz.
Here's. This is actually from. When is this from? 2010, December 7th, 2010.
10 years ago.
Fair enough. It's fair game. Here it is.
It is.
How's your rap censored? Haha, I couldn't even say it. Closest you get to being a rapper is being the poster boy for the faggot community, Malcolm. Yeah, see, these things, when they dig that up, it's not good. So he will be out pretty soon.
And that reminds me of the guy who got fired as the editor of Bon Appetit because he posted a picture of himself in bronzer.
Oh, gosh.
And I've always said this, and I've said it on this show. I've said it before. I've written about it. People who go on, if you remember some of these systems, Flickr, Google Pictures, all these things are all public.
Instagram.
Many of these things are for all practical. Instagram is the worst offender at the moment. You're posting private information when you post a picture of yourself drunk at a bar, giving the Longhorns or devil sign, and got your tongue hanging out and a beer glass in one hand, and you're going, oh, party! This is stupid. And this is what the result is what you're starting to see, and this is going to get everybody.
What will interest me is, so we have a social justice warrior, black, I might add, skin color black, no idea if he's ADOS or what he is, who is armed, and he has armed militants by his side. Will the cancel culture beat the gun? Will he give up his position without a fight, or will he start shooting people with iPhones tweeting that he's a horrible man? I'd love to know who wins this.
Well, the cancel culture has had no luck going up against the Second Amendment people. And now I'm looking at tweets and I'm seeing compromise where they're starting to say, well, maybe guns are good for something.
But this is, but John, this is not about owning guns. The guy has a gun in his hands, and you're going to go up and say, hey, man, that wasn't cool what you tweeted 10 years ago. Are these kids brave enough to do that?
No.
Is this Raz Simone
It's not about guns at the moment. Guns, if you haven't noticed, guns are off the table for
You don't understand what I'm saying. He is actually armed. Will he, when they come and say, you can't say faggot, will he take the gun and point it at them and say, shut up, or will he leave with his head drooping? That's my point. It's not about the gun. It's the fact he's holding it.
You just think the guy's armed to the teeth and he's going to shoot at anybody who comes against him.
He has guns in there. He's in video with guns.
Oh, no.
So the kid's inside. That's my question. Will they be able to remove him even though he is armed?
They can remove him with their words.
That's what. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for.
Shame.
That's what I'm looking for.
Shame.
Exactly.
And out he goes. He comes out. he probably won't be drooping his head, but he'll be holding his head high, and he'll realize that he was made a mistake 10 years ago.
You really
and
think
he'll be contrite, and he'll apologize, and he'll leave, and he with or without the guns. His guns are not going to be in play.
Okay. All right. Well, then what a leader that is, huh? Are you allowed to shame a black man into leaving the camp?
Well, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
He's probably the only black guy there, from what I can tell. All right. I think we've had enough.
Yeah.
We've done enough damage.
I think
I do have one little thing if you want to just hear one funny little bit. Again, Glenn Greenwald going out, blasting Ro Khanna. This little Greenwald on George W. Bush I thought was worth a listen. This is, again, on the rising.
Mm-hmm. And Glenn, I want to read you a quote. This is from Ro Khanna to the Daily Beast. He says of Bush, "I began my career in public service running against Bush's war in Iraq in 2004, but no one doubts his commitment to tolerance and inclusiveness." Now, given, your own record covering the Bush administration and the Iraq war, and I'm not sure there was a lot of tolerance and inclusiveness in Abu Ghraib. Just would love your reaction to that notion that Bush was some saintly figure, even though he just took the misguided view of invading Iraq.
This historical revisionism from liberals is so nauseating. And it may be my own personal experience. I began writing about politics in 2005, late 2005, for really only one reason, which was that I thought that the abuses of the Bush-Cheney administration when it came to the war on terror, when it came to extreme executive power abuses and theories of executive power, were extraordinarily menacing to basic
what?
The basic everything. Why that guy? It should have been clipped at menacing. But the thing is that the Democrats are trying to get George Bush to endorse Biden. This is what this is all about.
But Bush has already said he won't do that. He says it's ridiculous. Or am I behind? Is something else happening?
No, you're ahead, because supposedly it was reported in the various mainstream medias that Bush was not going to endorse Trump.
Right.
And so they assumed that he's going to endorse Biden, and it turns out that Bush actually says he never said he wasn't going to endorse Trump. He wasn't saying anything.
Yeah. Why does anyone care?
So the whole thing was bull crap.
Why does anyone care about old Bush, young Bush, that Bush, any Bush?
Apparently, according to these guys, the Democrats are jacked up over the idea that Bush will turn on Trump.
But believe me, Bush and Trump are no friends. There's no turning. It's just, will he embarrass the Republican Party? I doubt that George Bush,
that ain't gonna happen.
George W. Bush is not going to do that at all. And again, who cares? Who cares? We care. We care. Yeah, we care because we care. We care about you, producers. We care about you. And we have, we got a bevy of stuff happening here. Grumpy Old Ben's with Sir Carl with a K. Special guest next on NoAgendaStream.com. We've got Jesse Coy Nelson. We've got some Fletcher. And what else do we have? I don't know who made this. I think we got it all. I think we got them all. Those are our end of show mixes. And please remember us at Dvorak.org/NA as we will return on Thursday. No doubt there'll be plenty to talk about and plenty to deconstruct. These shows are getting plenty long, but it's worth it. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA region number 6 on the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday right here on No Agenda. Again, remember, Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos! And such.
It's Tickle Me Elmo. When your child tickles him, he talks.
The president spoke from the Rose Garden, and even as he declared himself, quote, that ally of all peaceful protesters, who is the thug? He calls them thugs?
Just gotta let it out. Just gotta let it out. It's Tickle Me
Anderson Cooper. Who is the thug here?
So stupid.
He calls them thugs? A black man killed with 4 officers holding him down, down.
Fact check false.
Stopping and frisking a young black man simply because he's a young black man?
Fact check false. What was that? He's laughing like a girl, isn't he?
Who is the thug here?
Elmo doesn't understand. What's happening? Why are all these people together?
They're gathering together to protest. Through protesting, people are able to share their feelings and work together to make things better.
I'm going to say one thing. Fuck Trump.
Who is the thug here?
No! Racism? What's that?
What we are seeing is people saying enough is enough.
So we now have to kill upstanding black citizens because a non-upstanding black citizen, a career black criminal, died.
How can Elmo support his fans?
Oh, well, we can start by learning.
You do stupid things, you win stupid prizes.
Who is the thug here?
I got the Kaylee beat.
I do like the Kaylee beat.
I got the Kaylee beat.
Kaylee beat.
I got the Kaylee beat.
I do like the Kaylee beat. You got a clubhouse. Hey, Joe, this is really nice.
Yeah, it is.
I'm having a really good time.
I am too. I'm really happy you're here. Dance and move your legs around.
A lot of twisty and kicky stuff. It's like dancing. That's not what this is. Loud music and it's all in rhythm and you've kind of got a group vibe going on.
There's something really cool about doing stuff with a group of people. Everybody's pushing everybody. Come on, let's go.
Now, I will say, beware, my Tourette's will get significantly worse. But
That's fine.
But that can be entertaining. That's not what this is. Cardio, of course, is fantastic. They also do weights.
What are you, crazy?
Oh, is this my release?
Yeah.
No.
Dance and move your legs around.
No, but I'm interested.
Well, there's something beautiful about audio only.
So I do the dancing. And so I don't have my hearing aids in. I don't have my glasses on. So I'm kind of like, pow, 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 pow. Whoa, what's going on?
That's an amazing story, man. I like where you're coming from.
People need community. Everybody needs community. Mm-hmm.
Particularly in Texas.
Mm-hmm. This is groundbreaking.
Dude, you have a flip phone.
Create less data.
At least that kind of looks cool. I swear to God, we didn't try to be a pirate crew.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Thanks for the lecture, idiot.